And a new truck with an old name.
A new truck with a great name, the Gravedigger, finally comes out. Dennis Anderson's going to be rolling with an all Chevrolet combination. Chevrolet sheet metal and Chevrolet horsepower, Richard.
Happening qualifying, as you see Nightlight, that is Dave Wysoric. He is getting ready to take on Fairly Tame and Mike Gresham first-round competition. But just a short while ago in qualifying, the fastest qualifier, Gravedigger and Dennis Anderson, had some big-time problems.
Anderson comes out of Virginia. You got to remember the Gravedigger is one of the most popular trucks on the tour. He showed up with those awesome red lights showing you the Gravedigger's in town, and believe me, he's here in a big way. A brand new Chevrolet truck he's coming out with. By new, I mean the sheet metal. The engine located all the way to the rear of this vehicle, Richard, but one thing is unique about it. I want you to watch this run that we videoed earlier this afternoon in this qualifying shot. Watch the front end of the truck. The first jump, no obstacles. Now watch the front end all the way to the rear, and it still comes down on the front like a kamikaze airplane. He just nosed it in, tearing the suspension completely out.
So bad news, he had the fastest time, but he broke down in qualifying. That is called a kill box. All the drivers have it. It's a safety device which will automatically shut down the engine if there is problem on one of these monster trucks. So Dennis Anderson out of the competition. Here, I understand right now you have got trackside Dennis Anderson. Dennis, the driver of the brand new Gravedigger for 1989. He's going to explain, hopefully to us, what happened in his qualifying run.
Dennis, exactly what took place out there tonight?
Well, I don't know, Army. I think when I lost my front drive shaft, I come down on a nosedive, and the truck hit super hard, and I busted a hydraulic ram, the ladder bar, got back in my sheet metal, and done a couple other little damages underneath of it. But I don't know. The ramps are pretty steep too, but I don't know. Just a new truck. We got things to iron out on it. I'm not used to it. I got to learn how to drive it. I got a super powerful motor, and I've got to get used to.
How come you fellers are bouncing so much on the jump cars?
I would say because the tires are on the cars, and the suspension of the cars are working as the suspension of the truck works too, and it kind of hicks you up off the cars. And if the cars were sitting flat down on the ground, they wouldn't bounce as bad. But they're kind of mushy because of the tires being on them.
So tough luck for Dennis Anderson. We'll see him on future. That is our first round of competition. But now let's go to the major stories, and it is the word all drivers hate to hear: breakdown.
You know, qualifying this afternoon was so tough. As we look at the replay from earlier day's activity, the Gravedigger, Dennis Anderson, could not get it to go in gear. They stayed up all night long trying to get the transmission ironed out on the brand new setup. It just wasn't to be. The Renegade official was right there, giving him all the time he could take, but Anderson indicates he's not going to make it, gives him the shutoff signal, Richard.
And you know, already this year, this is our second contest of the year on the Renegade circuit, and Dennis Anderson of that new Gravedigger has yet to make it to a show.
Yeah, but believe me, all these guys are watching. They know when he gets it dialed in, he's going to be there.
There's a fan of Gravedigger right there. And speaking of Gravedigger, Dennis Anderson is going to try to get it all together in Tallahassee, Army. We've talked about it over and over again. That powerful motor of Dennis's has caused more problems than it's been worth so far.
Well, he not only runs the most powerful motor, look at the location of it. It is all the way to the rear of the vehicle. He has to drive this truck 180, completely different than anybody else in the sport. All his weight is to the back, not to the front.
And he is going to be facing a driver out of Nokomis, Illinois. It's called the Barbarian, Jim Miller, and Jim is learning with each and every race he's in.
Well, Jim's been around the sport for a while. He knows that he has a tough one to go against. I mean, same problem. You notice Gravedigger comes out making horsepower, and then something went away on it.
Gravedigger gets the win, but he also has problems right there, Army.
Boy, that is a tough break all year long. Everybody's been watching him. Not to be the case tonight.
So once again, Dennis Anderson with disappointment. This time in Tallahassee, Army is working his way over to him right now. Dennis isn't happy.
Well, Dennis, it's been a long time coming. Your first win of '89, but we noticed something violently went wrong with the run.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I know I've got a powerful motor, and it's a short, choppy course. But I've just got to keep underneath and see what the problem is. I think it might be in a transmission or transfer case.
The big engine. Still glad you went that way?
Not really. I wish I would have started with my small motor now.
We'll let you get back with the crew. We'll see you later on the tour.
All right, thank you.
Something, Army. Steve Dane looks serious, though. He does not look to be as happy effervescent self there in that interview.
I'll
So
tell
he
you-
might have something on his mind.
Richard, the smoke that was coming out of it is called death smoke, and I believe he might be having some problems with that truck for real tonight. Speaking for real, everybody is wondering, when will a Gravedigger come out and be for real? He draws Bennett Clark in this round. This could be the start of something big.
All right, Dennis Anderson out of Virginia. That is, by the way, the co-owner of the Clydesdale machine, Denise Robinson. She is watching and videotaping this race. Clydesdale, the brand new Chevrolet up against Gravedigger's 1950 Chevrolet body.
Well, Anderson comes out like a shot, Richard. Whoa, he gets a little bit out of shape at the finish line. Clydesdale clears him, however.
Could that be problems for the Gravedigger machine? We're going to have to wait and find out as he turned violently to the right. But Dennis Anderson did get the win.
All year long, everybody's been wondering when Dennis Anderson is going to get it dialed in. It looks like you've arrived, but Dennis, what caused the truck to turn so violently at the end?
I don't know. I think I came down on one wheel. My steering is over-responsive, really, and just a touch of the wheel would, jerk the wheel around, and I was in the brakes at the same time because this is a kind of a short and hairy track to be running a powerful truck like that. I need to get the feel of it in a long course outdoors somewhere, I feel like.
It's been a long, dry year for you. This is your first win. How do you feel right now? Are you believing in monster truck racing again? I know you're down this afternoon.
Yeah, I think we're going to work it all out. We'll be there.
Good luck to you.
All right, thank you.
Well, earlier today, Army spent time with Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger.
When we started the 1989 Renegade Tour, everybody was asked, what's going to be the truck to beat? Everybody, no exceptions, everybody said the Gravedigger of Dennis Anderson's. But Dennis, it hadn't been that way this year. This is the fourth stop on the tour, and you seem to be having all kind of problems. Can you, first of all, tell us a little bit about the new truck? We're going to get into the problems a little bit later. The new truck.
All right, well, the new truck is a 1950 Chevrolet panel truck, which the old truck was a Ford body. It was a 50 model Ford body, and we switched over. We just built a whole new truck frame. I've stretched the wheelbase on it a little bit. We tried to lighten it up some and make it low profile. And as far as the frame and drivetrain, everything's hanging in there, except for the transmission, in which we've had a problem with that, but we're working that out with TCI right now, and so I think we're going to fall all right as far as the transmission goes. And I think our next problem is the motor. We really wanted to get a lot of power. We wanted to go ahead and make a step ahead of everybody this year, but I think we've gone a little bit too far on the motor. We've got more power than the vehicle needs because, the motor's putting out 1,800 horsepower. You take 1,800 horsepower, you can push a 2,000-pound machine without braking. This machine weighs between 13,000 and 14,000 pounds. With 1,800 horsepower and automatic transmission, it's hard to get it to work. So that's our biggest hang-up right now.
Think you're going to be able to solve these problems? It seems like you have a handle on it. You know you're having problems. You're working. You and your crew have been working feverishly all over the country. Each week you seem to be getting a little bit closer. How close are you to that first win?
Well, at this time right now, I really don't know. We've tried something different tonight. We've got a low-gear planetary and an automatic, and if the automatic is going to hold, it'll hold tonight. And then the next step is just to see how the truck is going to handle with all this power, and which I might have to end up, toning the motor down some. I might have to change motors because the motor is really super responsive. It's kind of hard to drive. I know everything's new. I got to get used to it, so we're going to give it one more chance.
Well, that one more chance is coming up next. Dennis Anderson, Gravedigger, taking on Dave Wysurek and Nightlife. And while we've got this chance, Army, a couple of guys you saw in that videotape are crew members of Dennis's. We don't talk about them a lot, but they do a super job. Dale Benson and Keith Leary.
Well, I tell you, they have been thrashing all year long getting that truck dialed in. It's going to come around. It's just a question of when. At this point in time in the sport, everybody comes in the building to watch the Gravedigger. All the other drivers, they're in here watching. They know this might be the time. Look at the run. Oh, what a landing. Oh, he really hit hard, Richard.
I am glad I wasn't a passenger on that side. The door comes flying out, but Dennis Anderson, the big news, gets his second win of 1989, and he did it in a high-flying fashion kind of way.
He really aired out the front end, looks super strong, landed awfully hard on the front end. However, Anderson sitting in there with a grin from ear to ear.
Some of these Floridians, they are pumped up for this other semifinal race coming up next. David Morris, an equalizer, coming back as a fast loser, taking on the Gravedigger of Dennis Anderson and Army. This crowd is on their feet.
They're up and at him. Believe me, the kid trying to work his way to the first final to see what he can do. He's in a far lane going against the old pro, and we've got problems on the starting line as Morris will go into his first Renegade final.
David Morris with the win, but Army, what happened to Gravedigger?
Drivetrain problems once again, Richard.
All right, so Dennis Anderson's bad luck continues. David Morris with a great win, though. And welcome back to Power Tracks. We are in Biloxi, Mississippi, about ready to get underway with round one competition. And once again, Army, we have got a great following of monster truck fans on hand.
Well, we're glad to have all the people with us in our first stop in the state of Mississippi, Richard. Gulf Coast action coming your way. All the big guns are here. The qualifying's over, and look who wound up on top.
Dennis Anderson out of Chesapeake, Virginia. The Gravedigger was our top qualifier tonight. Right now, let's run down the pairings. It'll be Stomper and Marvin Smith against Mad Dog. Bigfoot takes on Texas Stomper. Then we're going to see Wild Hare taking on Buster Guppy, the modern-day outlaw. Follow that with Carolina Crusher, Gary Porter against Clydesdale and Bennett Clark. Chi-Town Hustler Kevin Dabney facing the defending national champion, USA Wood and Ron Litzow. And in his bye-run, Dennis Anderson is going to take her nice and easy.
You know, Richard, you can't blame him. He's had a rough year this year trying to turn his luck around. Does qualify quick. Now he's going to the next round of elimination.
John Green and Mad Dog, because he was a fast loser, is Dennis Anderson getting ready to come out next to take on his first quarterfinal round competition. Army, I know earlier today you talked with Dennis about the awesome engine he's got in Gravedigger.
During a recent interview with all the top monster truck drivers in the country, the one truck they all said really they were afraid of was the Gravedigger of Dennis Anderson's. One of the reasons being the awesome horsepower that you're generating with this truck, Dennis. Can you tell us a little bit about the horsepower that's in the truck right now?
Yeah, well, right now I've got a 2,000 horsepower Rodak engine, and a Rodak is an all-aluminum motor, and it's got a set of aluminum Bachmann heads on it. I run a 1271 blower. Everybody else on the circuit runs an 871. I'm putting a lot of boost in the motor, so I get a lot of power out of it.
But that's all about the change. New rules, no horsepower engine like you're going to have now. You're going to have to adjust, really going to have to go down on your horsepower to a smaller engine. So what will be that change? Which way are you going to go now?
Well, I'll go back to a steel block engine because that's what they want us to run, is something that the factory makes, and we have to run water through the motor. And this motor is a solid billet motor and doesn't have any water jackets in it. But really, I don't think it's going to hurt because this motor is strong, but all the power in the world doesn't do any good if you can't use it. And it's not a very consistent motor as far as keeping the drivetrain together. So it might help me out by going to a smaller motor. I feel like I could drive the truck better and more consistent with it if I drop down 1,000 horsepower.
Okay, now we're talking about the motor, but really the motor hasn't been the problem. The horsepower the motor generates is the problem because it's causing other pieces to break, such as?
Yeah, well, like the transmission, you know, because you take 2,000 horsepower and start jerking a 12,000-pound truck around with it, it's almost impossible to make a transmission work.
Well, let's see if Dennis Anderson continues his good luck tonight in Biloxi, Mississippi. We are in the quarterfinal round of action now, and it's John Breen, Mad Dog Chevy, up against the awesome Gravedigger of Dennis Anderson.
You know, Richard, it's amazing. Everywhere we go, one of the most popular trucks has to be that one right there. The kids love the red lights of the Gravedigger. However, John Breen will not be intimidated. He's going to make him go for it. Again, the question I'm going to ask you, we talked about it at the opening of the show. Is this the night that Gravedigger turns his luck around? And it's looking awfully good. Looky here.
He walked it down the track. Dennis Anderson, the winner in Gravedigger. Whoa, boy, he has got to be happy with that run. This is the first time in a long time that he has made it to the semifinals.
We might be looking at a classic case of somebody that's in the process of turning his luck around. Dennis, you're going to the semis. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has. We've had problems with the new truck, keeping transmissions in it. We've geared down. We've not got it ironed out. We're trying a different gear. It seems to be working, and I think we're going to hang in there.
Dennis, how come your truck has a tendency to go nose over like that? Everybody else is getting their front end. You're exactly opposite of everybody else. Where they're going up, you're going down, and vice versa. Why is that?
Yeah, it's because when I'm powering into the cars, I'm doing a wheelie. I'll carry the front wheels all the way to the cars, and the cars trip the rear wheels and kick the back end up in the air.
That doesn't feel kind of scary?
Yeah, it is. It's real scary. That's why I wish we had more running distance in between the first dirt hill and the cars. Then maybe my front end would plane off and get down on the ground, and I could do an even jump.
Okay, well, we'll be keeping an eye on you in the semifinals. Good luck.
All right, thank you.
Driver, as we're getting ready for semifinal competition, but Andy, you would think would have all the confidence in the world, but he only says he's going to try to win. Whoa, wait a minute. I just saw sparks underneath the Gravedigger.
Yeah, the Gravedigger coming in. He might have a little bit of a problem. You're talking about Brass a moment ago. He does have a lot of confidence, but he also knows what the potential is of this truck. Everybody's been wondering, when will Anderson get it dialed in? This could be the night in Mississippi, Richard.
Dennis, of course, is out of Chesapeake, Virginia. His wife, Julie, travels the circuit with us, along with his little boy, Adam. And you know, Adam is a real big fan of monster trucks. He loves the Gravedigger, but he also loves Bigfoot.
You know, I can't think of a little boy in America that doesn't love monster trucks, Richard.
So here we go. Semifinal. The winner, remember, is going to the championship. Will it be the Ford Bigfoot with Andy Brass or the awesome Gravedigger and Dennis Anderson? Army, what do you think?
Richard, there's a lot of respect out there right now. Andy Brass, I'll guarantee you, knows Anderson can nail him to the wall on a good run. On the other side, Anderson knows that Brass has the potential to win this thing, too. This could be the best run of the night. The winner here could wind up winning this whole thing.
You never told me who you thought would win. As we get ready for the green, there we go.
Okay, Richard, I'll take the Gravedigger.
You named a winner, Army.
Haven't lost all year long. That was a good run. Some good driving out of that left lane.
Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger has done it. He has got to be tickled. This is the first time in 1989 that he has moved to the championship round, and he did it right there, Army.
Boy, driving the same way. The front end settles. The back end on this truck kicks out.
So Dennis Anderson has finally done it. He's moving to the championship as he has just knocked off Bigfoot and Andy Brass. Let's go to Army.
Dennis Anderson, it's been a long time coming, son, but it looks like you're going into the finals here.
Yeah, we're going to do it tonight.
When you came in the building, were you aware that something was really sparking on the back of the truck? It looked like an electrical spark. Were you aware of any problems like that?
No, I wasn't.
You might want to check when you go back outside. When you gassed it, right when you came in the building, a little bit of white sparks came out. Well, the question at hand, can you beat the next guy out to be the winner?
If I can keep it in my lane and throttle down, I've got him all the way.
Is there anything you want to say to the folks about the Gravedigger?
Yeah, just remember, the Gravedigger's going to get you one day.
And now we are ready to crown the king of monster truck racing in Biloxi. It'll either be the Gravedigger, Dennis Anderson, the most powerful monster truck in the world, or the defending Renegades TNT National Champion, Rob Litzow.
Well, everybody keeps talking about the Gravedigger and his power. Granted, he has it. But believe me, Litzow and Everjasmer, they're not hurting for horsepower. They know what they have to do to take a win. The pressure, I believe, is going to be on the Gravedigger. First time this year he's been in a final. We're watching for a green light. Back to you for the call, Richard Lee.
I'm going to call a win by the Gravedigger. He has been wanting this for a long time as we are staged, set, ready to rock and roll. That is Hal Goss, the starter. He has given them the signal. Get ready. Here we go. The green light is out. Oh, no.
Problems on the start line. USA 1 will advance for the win. And the Gremlins caught up with the Gravedigger in Mississippi. A tough break for Anderson, Richard.
Dennis Anderson, the lights came out, and he sat there. The engine died. I don't know what the problem is. You see Wild Hair, driven by Bob Breen out of Jefferson City, Missouri. He is going to be taking on Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger in our first quarterfinal matchup. As a matter of fact, first round action has been completed, and let's run down the pairings as the quarterfinals get ready to get started. It'll be Mad Dog, one of the Breen boys, taking on Bigfoot and Andy Brass. Then Stomper with Marvin Smith takes on Gary Porter and Carolina Crusher. We'll follow that up with the national champion, Rob Litzow, USA 1 against Bennett Clark and Clydesdale. So it ought to be a heck of a race, and let's get it started, Army, with the bad Breen boy, Wild Hair, against Gravedigger and Dennis Anderson.
Bob Breen drew the baddest of the bad tonight. Dennis Anderson seems to be on a roll. Look at the air. Anderson just makes it look smooth.
Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger is back in a big way. You know, a black cloud has been hanging over his head. He continues to break down, but what an awesome display of power here in the replay.
Richard, you talk about a black cloud. He just flew through that crowd. You see the altitude he had on that run.
Dennis Anderson, 1,800 horsepower. The fans absolutely love the Gravedigger in Biloxi, Mississippi. What a whale of a matchup we've got coming. It is Bigfoot with Andy Brass, the original monster truck, taking on the most powerful monster truck in the world, Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger.
Richard, the people in Biloxi, Mississippi are going to have a chance to see a war right now. Anderson trying to find a combination. Has he found it? We don't know. He's working his way step by step by step. We told the story. Horsepower, no problem. The problem is braking. Meanwhile, sitting next to him, one of the most reliable trucks on the tour, Andy Brass and Bob Chandler's Bigfoot.
Now, we're on a very short track, Army. Gravedigger, obviously the most powerful of the two. Is that an advantage or disadvantage?
I think it would be an advantage. The driving technique is going to be different. Notice Gravedigger wants to get out. Okay, there you go.
Look out! Gravedigger wins it! Gravedigger wins it! Dennis Anderson has pulled off the upset over Bigfoot.
Anderson looked like an interior lineman. He got that nose down, and he went after it, and he took the win.
We've got to look at that again. Watch Gravedigger. He walks it over the cars, and then he almost puts it on his nose.
You know, Dennis Anderson must have a little bit of kamikaze in him, Richard. To drive like that is awesome. You've got to remember, he has to drive different than everybody in the sport because of the horsepower and the engine location.
Unbelievable power, an unbelievable show by Gravedigger. The crowd absolutely loves it, and it's set for the championship here. It is going to be USA 1. Rob Litzow, 28-year-old defending national champion from Spring Lake Park, Minnesota, against that gentleman right there. Gravedigger, Dennis Anderson, also 28. He's out of Chesapeake, Virginia. That Gravedigger stands 10 foot 5 inches tall. It weighs 13,000 pounds. It's got 1,800 horsepower.
And it's going to the finals for the first time this year. He's been working long and hard to get to this point. Then to his right is going to be a man that's been there many times. But believe me, Dennis Anderson will not be intimidated, and USA 1 knows it. Look at the attack. He comes out on what a run. Anderson takes his first win, Richard.
Dennis Anderson has done it. His first win of 1989 at Army. As we look at a replay, he did it with sheer horsepower.
What he does, he attacks the first ramp, comes over, gets the front wheels up, and actually noses over the finish line. I told you, he's got to drive 180 degrees from everybody else, and it works.
Our congratulations to Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger. They have won the championship in Biloxi, Mississippi.
Paint job. Is that magnificent? You're looking at the side of the cab on Gravedigger. He's waiting for his confrontation with Bigfoot. Look at that machine. Absolutely magnificent.
In the 1951 panel truck with a blown Chevrolet engine driven by Dennis Anderson of Chesapeake, Virginia. His competition, well, the heavy metal of Bigfoot, Andy Brass, the driver tonight in the Astrodome, based in St. Louis, Missouri. And that is a supercharged big block Ford engine.
Bigfoot sitting over on the far side. Gravedigger, the panel truck from the near side, they get a good start, and Gravedigger takes quite a jump as he comes over the first bump. Now drifts across off the edge of the course. The Gravedigger with some serious problem as Bigfoot makes the turn at the far end. Gravedigger rolls to a stop. So Andy Brass, driver of the Bigfoot, as he has a few problems of his own, almost tips her over. Nevertheless, he comes through and wins this elimination round. So Andy Brass and Bigfoot will go on to the next round of eliminations. As there's Dennis Anderson. He climbs out of the machine, sitting still and stopped at the far end of the course, picking up under the powertrain assembly there, trying to determine what went wrong. Certainly looked like something went wrong with the steering mechanism as he got it to a stop rather than drifting all the way off of the course.
5-second barrier.
5-second barrier, boy, that's kind of no man's land in this sport. He's the second one there. He and Gary Porter, the only ones to get through the 5-second barrier. Gravedigger could do it if he doesn't brake. The same problems have been haunting this vehicle everywhere he goes. He qualifies good. Something to break on that run. Let's see if he can break that Jeep right now.
Dennis Anderson from Chesapeake, Virginia. Whoa! He just knocked down the finish line pole. 6.36 seconds for the Gravedigger, and he did a number on that finish line pole.
That guy is something special, Richard, to drive that truck. The horsepower, the power-to-weight ratio is phenomenal.
So disappointment for John Moore, but Army also disappointment again for Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger. He was supposed to take on Mad Dog and John Breen here, but we just found out Anderson has wasted yet another transmission.
Well, the black cloud stays over the Gravedigger. He's trying to shoo it away, but
So we are back to live action now. Round one competition underway, and here comes the guy that has won all the events thus far in 1989. Gravedigger, Dennis Anderson, Chesapeake, Virginia, against no problem John Moore, the Ford Bronco. Dennis, the Menace Anderson, has certainly been a menace to all the other guys thus far.
well, they kind of picked on him in 1988. That was 1988. 1989, we've only had 2 events. He's won 2. He's going for 3 in a row. He's found the combination. Everybody knows it, but you're not going to be able to count John Moore out. He's going to give him a race. Moore ran a good race. The Gravedigger just ran an exceptional race.
Dennis, the Menace Anderson, Gravedigger wins another one in Chi-Town as we go down trackside with Army.
Okay, Dennis, you qualified out of the right lane, but you took lane choice and went to the left lane. Why'd you do that?
Well, the right lane kind of crossed me up a little bit, and I felt like the left lane is a better lane. I've won, 2 nights in the left lane, so I just want to stay in the left lane all I can.
Gary Porter's coming after you like a fast-moving freight. Can you hold him off tonight, or can you make it 3 in a row?
I don't know. I'm going to try to make it 3 in a row. We've been battling it all weekend. He's really got it out for me, but I've got it for him, too.
Going to be facing the winner of this matchup, which has Dennis the Menace Anderson and Gravedigger taking on Doug Spanier and the Master of Disaster.
Richard, I'm interested in something here. I'm keeping an eye on where they line up. Now, you remember, the Carolina Crusher has already made a statement to us. The left lane's the place to be, and Anderson says the same thing. Eventually, they're going to work to each other. That could set up literally a war over who's going to get lane choice. The awesome red lights of the Gravedigger working the left side of the track. Spanier with the Master of Disaster, really out of shape, stands it up.
A good run by Doug Spanier, but not good enough as Gravedigger will advance. And he is going to be facing Gary Porter and Carolina Crusher in the semifinals. Let's ask Dennis about that matchup.
Gary Porter, he's still in this thing. Gary Porter wants you. He's pulled no bones about it. He wants to come after you. How do you feel about that? It looks like you might just have him in that next round.
Well, Carolina Crusher's tough, and I'm tough, but I've got something for Carolina Crusher.
Whoa, listen to Dennis Anderson and his confidence. Army, you got any idea what Dennis has up his sleeve?
No, but I wonder who's going that left lane when they do meet.
We are about to find out who the best of the beast are in Chicago as the Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge moves to the semifinals. Dennis the Menace Anderson and Gravedigger against Carolina Crusher and Gary Porter, a classic matchup. These 2 guys are after each other.
This could be one of the best matchups of the year. One of my questions have already been answered. Look who's in that left lane. Porter, in a qualifying time, helped him. But look, Porter goes out. He's going to advance. Richard, that's got to be considered an upset. 2-time winner Gravedigger will not advance in the competition this evening.
A major upset as Carolina Crusher and Gary Porter move to the championship.
He'll be coming out a little bit later, but right now, it's all serious. Chasing the national championship. This is your national points leader. This time last year, he was struggling, but now the Gravedigger has found the combination. Richard, it has to be one of the most popular trucks that runs on this circuit with us.
Dennis the Menace Anderson and Gravedigger against Doug Spanier and Master of Disaster.
Wow.
Another easy win for the Gravedigger, Army.
You know, it's kind of interesting. Doug Spanier made an awfully good run. Anderson was just so smooth, so quick.
So he puts another win in his pocket. TNT Monster Truck Challenge, we're in the quarterfinals now. It is Dennis the Menace Anderson and Gravedigger taking on John Breen and Mad Dog. The winner moves to the semifinal round.
Well, Breen will be working the naturally aspirated or non-blown Chevrolet front engine. That's closest to the camera. Everybody knows the story of the Gravedigger. Mega horsepower in the back. Look at the driving style. Anderson advances. He just keeps getting quicker and quicker and smoother, Richard.
And I just wonder, with the stopper going through the wall today, with the equalizer almost going through the wall, and Dennis, with all that speed, is worried about himself going through the wall.
What goes through your mind sitting on that starting line? And I'm not trying to bring up anything negative, but you're running at another man's wall. These other guys have been punching holes in that walls all day long. What goes through your mind, Dennis? Does that affect your driving style at all?
Well, not really, because I leave myself. I feel like I've got enough shutdown room here, not unless we have something unusual happen. But I've got this course pretty down pat. You know, I've got me a little system down for it. I've learned the course. I've been running on it for a few days here now, so I've got it down pretty pat. I have no fear in the wall, not unless I have a failure in equipment.
The Renegade TNT Monster Truck Challenge now in the semifinal round, where it's going to be Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger, the hottest truck of 1989, taking on Jeff Dane and Awesome Kong, the hottest truck at the end of 1988.
Speaking of two theories, one of them likes to stay down and low, close to the difference going on there. The other one likes the sky. What's going to happen? Look at the difference in the truck. The Gravedigger marches on.
Dennis Anderson moves to the championship again, but a good run by the Flying Texan, Jeff Dane and Awesome Kong. It was not to be today. So Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger is going to be going for his 4th win in 5 events of 1989.
Dennis, you're going to the final. You've been here before. You're up in a national points lead. You're on a roll. Can you keep it going?
Yeah, I think so. That's what I'm trying to do, is gain all the points I can so I can stay ahead. So just in case following the season we have some problems, I'm enough points ahead that I can linger back a little bit.
As we're ready for the championship round, it is the rookie, 22 years of age, David Morris, the equalizer, going up against the veteran, 28-year-old Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger.
Richard, everybody on that starting line right now is a winner in 89. Those are your number 1 and 2 trucks in the point standing. Let's see what's going to happen. It's going to be quick. They both lead side by side. Anderson pulls out a little bit. Morris trying to come back. Anderson takes, wow, what, he's dominated in Chicago.
Dennis Anderson and the Gravedigger has just won the 3rd time in 4 events of 1989, this time over the equalizer.
Dennis, 3 wins, national points leader. Boy, what a difference a year makes.
Yeah, it does. You know, we finally got everything ironed out. We got a good combination going for us now. All we have to do is just keep our combination all through the season.
What do you think about this Morris kid? He reminds me of a fighter pilot. He stays cool, and he's going to be around for a long time, and I think he's going to be a thorn in your side before the year's over, Dennis.
Yeah, he is. He's definitely tough. And these guys, they've done their homework. They've come out with a different style monster truck that seems to be working super well for them. And they started out with a smaller motor, and they keep getting the motor a little bit bigger, but he's going to be tough.
But first and foremost, it's your current national points leader, Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger, for his bye run.
Well, Anderson comes out with a tough 5-second qualifying shot out of one lane. He's going to make this run out of another lane, just checking the track out, trying to stay alive. This is the 5th week we've been in Chicago. These fellas have really beaten bang on a lot of equipment. Anderson staying alive to go into that next round of elimination.
And of course, as we said in the preview of the show today, Dennis has already won 3 out of the first 4 points races, so he has got a huge lead in the standings. We are moving to our first race in the quarterfinal round of action. It's going to be Doug Spanier and the Master of Disaster taking on Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger. And interesting, Dennis Anderson is sporting a new engine now during the points race.
Well, Anderson used to run one of the hybrid, very expensive all-aluminum engines. He switched over to a smaller engine, and it seems to be working for him.
Well, he had speed with the big engine. He's got as much speed with the small engine. And Army spent time with Dennis earlier today.
Well, TNT Motorsports outlawed the engine that used to be in this truck. They've outlawed the all-aluminum high-dollar racing engine. Dennis Anderson was the only truck that rule affected. And it didn't seem to affect you too adversely, Dennis, as you've had to step down on engine. First of all, we need to explain to people the Rodak is an all-aluminum version of a big block Chevrolet. Horsepower was no problem. Breakage was a problem. What were you breaking?
I was breaking automatic transmissions. I'd ring main shafts and stuff like that in them. And, you know, we had the Rodak in there. We'd done 10 shows and busted 10 transmissions.
Okay, you made the change. What exactly was the change?
The change was the motor. You know, we built a new steel block motor for it. We down the horsepower, 1,000 horsepower. We got a 1,000 horsepower motor. The Rodak was built anywhere from 1,800 to 2,000 horsepower. We, decreased the horsepower, and we've got a good combination, gear and combination. Everything's working great now.
And now it's time to go racing. Dutch Spanier, Master of Disaster, Dennis Anderson, Gravedigger, both of them former mudboggers, now both of them top monster drivers.
Anderson has qualifying quick time. That gives him lane choice, and he keeps going back to that left side, Richard Lincoln. It's working. He's so smooth over that left side of the track.
But it was a good race by Dutch Spanier, Master of Disaster. He did not win, so Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger moves into the semifinals. Listen to the thousands of fans here in Chicago. They love the Gravedigger. We're going to go down and find out about that race with Army and Dennis.
Dennis is looking awfully good out there this afternoon.
Yeah, everything's feeling good. I've got the track down pat now. We've been running on it for a while. We've got a lot of confidence in the truck. We're going to do it.
That is the Gravedigger, and he is about to try to bury another monster truck. Hi, everyone. I'm Richard Leake along with Army Armstrong. We're in the semifinals of the Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge in Chicago, Illinois. And Army, this ought to be a war right here.
It's going to be an old-time street fight where we're going to be looking at Jeff Dane, one of the old pros on the circuit. He wants to put this young kid away. The Gravedigger, is not going to have anything to do with it. Dane's in trouble, and the Gravedigger still goes after it.
Dennis Anderson and the Gravedigger gets a tainted win, tainted in the fact that Awesome Kong has broken down. Army, being trackside where you are, could you see any obvious problem?
Yeah, what happened? The transmission went away. The torque converter, all types of liquid is coming out. So Awesome Kong, the dream race is not going to take place now.
So Dennis Anderson will take a win anyway. He can get it this time. It comes because of breakage on Awesome Kong.
I didn't know anything until the race was over, but Awesome had a tough break. And I wish he could have made it because I love to beat him fair and square.
What happened to your truck when you came across the finish line? It was actually tightened sideways on it, kind of like a sprint car. You're kind of in a drift. What causes that?
I don't know. I think maybe I might have landed down on one wheel before I did the other, and I started getting in the brakes just a little bit, and it'll start slowing that wheel down, and it'll ring the truck around because we've had a lot of people getting this wall, and now I've got a little bit of fear in the wall.
Equalizer, and Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger. Now, Dennis is trying to avenge his last loss, which was to the Equalizer.
There are 5 events in Chicago. These 2 trucks have won them all. The Equalizer, he won the last event. The Gravedigger won the first 3. Can the Gravedigger make it 4 out of 5 in Chicago? We're going to find out right now, but you can believe me, both of these drivers are tickled to death to be in the final. They're both in the lanes they want to be in. It's going to be a super run.
And they're also number 1 and number 2 in the national point standing. So very important for the points race. We wait for the green light to come out in Chicago.
Last indoor event. Who's it going to be? Tennessee or Virginia? The kid out of Tennessee leads good. Gravedigger comes back. Richard the Gravedigger. 4 out of 5 in Chi-Town.
So Dennis Anderson and the Gravedigger avenges his only point loss of the year with a big win over David Morrison Equalizer.
Well, both drivers, we're waiting down here on the track. Let me get over here with you fellas. That was one super event. Gravedigger took the win. Dennis Anderson, he goes out to the crowd cheer. Dennis, you are on a roll, son, and like we said earlier, what a difference a year makes. This time, 6 months ago, a year ago, everybody was picking on you, and now, man, they're staying away from you like the plague.
Yeah, you got it right. The guys back in the pit are dreading me now, and I like that.
You're on top. You know everybody's going to be coming after you. How you going to win it?
It's going to be tough, but as long as we can keep running consistent, you know, we start running outdoor tracks. It's a little different than inside, but we've got a good combination going for us now. All we have to do is just, you know, gear up for different courses, and you'll get them.
All right. Welcome to Raleigh, North Carolina, as 13 of the meanest monster trucks in America have gathered for a unique event. The uniqueness of this event, they're finally going to be able to go outdoors and really leg these monster trucks. Standing with me right now on my left, your current national point leader and driver of the Gravedigger, Dennis Anderson. Currently number 3 in the national point chase. Standing over my right shoulder, the Carolina Crusher, basically a hometown boy in this competition. He believes he can take a win. First of all, we're going to be talking to Dennis Anderson about the track. Dennis, indoors and outdoors, there's a lot of difference.
Yeah, it is. Indoors, we're running, you know, little short courses. We have to shut down early. We have to gear the trucks different indoors. This is an outdoor course. You know, we're like going on 3 times long. You know, the course is 400 foot long. So we'll gear the trucks up. We get a lot more speed, but, you know, which we got a lot of good shutdown room out here, too, so it'll be really a fast track. But although the track is a little slick, it might not be as fast as it could be.
Are you going to be able to hang on to this national point chase? You have had a phenomenal start in '89.
Yeah, I think so. You know, we've got well, like I say, you know, this will be the first time outdoors with the new truck. We've got to see what it's going to do. You know, I don't know if I'm going to be able to run these guys down on the other end, but I'm going to give it all I've got to do it.
We wish you all the luck in the competition.
One of the most popular trucks, and he comes in as the national point leader, Dennis Anderson's Gravedigger.
Got him anxious to see what lane he's going to be going out of and how he's going to attack it. He'll go to the high side of the track. Anderson notoriously wants to attack the second group of cars. The first group you got to go over, but when you come off the first group, you've got to be straight. And when he goes towards the second, he flat will pull the trigger. Now, he's got a lot of problems going for him. He's trying to get lined up. Bam! Anderson had the back pedal. That will not be the run he's looking for. Plus, I believe believe he broke something. Oh, what a tough break. I believe Anderson lost another transmission.
10.06 is the time in qualifying for Dennis Anderson, but he's going to be out for the rest of the night with a broken transmission. So another bad break for Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger. He had some breakage problems early before the point season started. Looked great in Chicago over the last few weeks, but it breaks here in Raleigh.
Keep in mind, he is your national points leader. This is really going to hurt him, Scott.
Buckle on those seatbelts because the awesome power of Tuck Tracks is taking you to Raleigh, North Carolina for the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. As Army mentioned a moment ago, 12 powerful monsters ready to go at it in side-by-side eliminations. But first, it's the qualification round. Gravedigger getting ready to qualify. Now, Army Armstrong, it was a week ago when the Digger had problems in the qualification round.
Well, Scott, during the winter months, he had problems with the automatic transmission. We're outdoors. He felt like he had solved the problems. The truck was running better. However, last week when he made this qualifying shot, the old black cloud came back to get the Gravedigger, and the transmission once again went away on the truck. You can hear all the RPM in the engine. It's just not putting no horsepower to the ground. A tough break for Anderson.
Now, Dennis Anderson is still the national points leader in Gravedigger, but that really tightened things up last week, especially with Equalizer grabbing a win behind David Morris. He has been an early contender. Gravedigger wants to be able to put some distance between himself, Equalizer, Carolina Crusher, and the others this week. That's why this is a very important run.
Well, the run this afternoon is very important for two reasons. Number one, the first qualifying session. The weather here is we're getting a lot of rain right now. The drivers are a little bit leery, not of the track, but of the cars they're going to be jumping on because they're going to be awfully slick out there. Anderson rolls up, works the right side of the track. He's got to get a good qualifying shot in. Remember, the better the qualifying shot, the better the pairing. Slipping and a slide. Let's see what's going to happen. The Gravedigger is not attacking the track at all. A very conservative run for Anderson.
We'll check the time as he comes across conservative, but strong and no breakage for the Gravedigger. 10.23 for Dennis Anderson, one of the most popular figures in motorsports today. Gravedigger with a 10.23. Matchup will have delightful Bennett Clark out of Clydesdale and Powder Springs, Georgia, as he goes up against Gravedigger.
Dennis Anderson works the inside of the track, the Gravedigger. Everybody's watching him to see if he's figured it out, if he has a handle on the horsepower. He'll be working the inside, those awesome red lights shining on the front of the Gravedigger. Meanwhile, sitting next to him, a truck that is just tickled to death to be outside, that being the Clydesdale. But the Clydesdale has trouble leaving the starting line. The Gravedigger's out with no problem. Oh, yes, he does. Some kind of problem at mid-track. Clydesdale's starting to come back on him. Gravedigger's going to win, but something happened on that run to the Gravedigger. I don't know what it was, Scott. We're going to try to find out.
The Digger had a problem. Clydesdale never got out of the gate. That was an interesting race. Gravedigger gets the win, but more because of the problems to Clydesdale. Army's going to head over and talk to Dennis and see what the problem was.
Dennis, an awfully good run, but the transmission, is it right yet? It still didn't seem right to me.
I don't know. You know, we've been messing with the shifter. We just put another transmission in it, and the valve body is backwards from the other one. We've been adjusting on the shifter, and it really wasn't a good run for me because the track's a little bit slick, and I got a little bit out of shape, and I let out of it, so we're still working with it, but maybe I can hang in there.
Right now, another quarterfinal matchup, though, brings out the very popular Gravedigger with Dennis Anderson, and he goes up against the Jersey Outlaw, coming back as one of the fast losers from the opening round.
God, keep in mind, the weather has cleared up here. The Carolina Crusher broke. The Equalizer comes out, and he breaks. This track is really starting to call on a lot of horsepower. The strong truck is going to win this thing this afternoon. You know about the horsepower story on the Gravedigger. Can the Gravedigger stay together? That's what I'm watching. The horsepower's there. He comes out, but Wine, this kid out of New Jersey, is giving him a handful. Gravedigger.
And the Digger wins it pretty convincingly over Mike Wine and the Jersey Outlaw. So Dennis Anderson seems to be the first guy, he is the first guy to move into the semis and look like he's going to have a truck ready to go.
Yeah, not break anything. This track is really calling on these kids.
And he is in the semifinal round against Gravedigger. I hope we all understand how everybody got to the Final Four today.
Only thing I can tell you is there's some good monster trucks left, some good racing, and what we're going to be looking at here is all the horsepower in the world's on the inside with the Gravedigger, but we've got a driver sitting on the outside who's using his head. He knows this may not be a horsepower track. Horsepower could actually work against it. John Bream, one of the old pros, been around a long time, and John Bream comes out side by side with the Gravedigger, pulls him at mid-track. Anderson trying to come back. Bream may have any upset of the year. He does, Scott.
by inches. What a race, but it is. John Breen and Mad Dog barely outdistancing Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger to move into the championship. And that is a massive upset. Your national point leader, Gravedigger, goes down to defeat. He didn't break, but the Mad Dog able to have the better handle on this slippery, sloppy track. For more than just the first place check this week on Tough Tracks, a brand new feature is the silver flag. That's what we want to talk about. Kind of like a championship belt. Each week, the winner will take the silver flag to our next edition of Tough Tracks. This is week number 1, so we're going to start with the national point leader, and Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger will be carrying the silver flag the first time around. I know the guys really going to try and take that flag off the back of your truck.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right, but they're going to have to take it because I'm not going to give it up that easy. They're going to have to work for the flag, which that's what all of us are doing every week now. We're looking forward to fighting, battling out for this flag. But the course out here is kind of tricky. You know, there's left and right-hand turns. There's an inside and outside. And you can get ahead of a guy on these turns. They're so wide, the outside lane, and you'll think that you're going to really get away from the guy, and you let up when you fall back into the inside lane, and you can lose the race because it's really a tricky track. But being a long course, there's a lot of guys that can't gear the trucks up. You know, we've got quick change gearboxes in a few of the trucks out here now, and I've got one of them. And we've got like 6 different gear sets. We can gear up for these long courses or short courses.
In a sport that is known for power, Dennis, handling's going to be big today, isn't it? You've got to get around these corners.
Yeah, well, that's right. We can gear up high and be the fastest truck here, but holding it in that turn is another thing, too. It's not like these, like a race car. You know, these things are big and tall, and there's a limit to turning them over and being able to hold it in that turn.
Last year, Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger were kind of chasing. Now they're chasing you. You're the leader on the Monster Truck Challenge, and that silver thing just gives them something to see every time you come out there.
Yeah, well, that's right. It's going to be tough, but I'm going to hang on to it all I can.
It's going to be great action here on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge. But the national point leader and the guy a lot of them came to see here at Louisville, Gravedigger. Dennis Anderson out of Chesapeake, Virginia, and Dennis will attack the course. Make no mistake about it.
No mistake at all. He'll work the inside, carrying the silver flag. Indicates he's the last winner on the tour. Everybody's going after him.
Round out that first round of competition. It's the No Problem Ford and the Stomper Chevrolet. They'll be at war over that one in Louisville, Kentucky. But first, we're going to look at the bye run of Dennis Anderson and the Gravedigger. He got her fixed, Army.
Well, he got her fixed, and that qualifying was so very important to him because the bye run, he's going to make sure that it's right now. So he doesn't have to worry about going out there and breaking or beating anybody. What he's going to do is make sure that this truck is right for the next round of eliminations, and he's not taking it easy. He's not stroking it at all. Anderson comes out. Didn't really attack the vehicle. That's a smart move. You know, first place money's not paid till the last race of the day. This is the first one. So Anderson's learning something. The truck looks good. I don't believe the distance of this track is going to hurt Anderson. We were worried about the heat factor, but he and the crew said they've got it figured out. Might just be the case. They're looking awfully good right now. One I'm interested in is the next race coming out. Anderson wraps up his. But the next race could be a war, Scott.
That whole bye run just to see how he can get around the turns and get up the chute. The cars were unimportant to him on that run. Okay.
Might be the key word this evening. 2 of the major breakages we had in qualifying were a result of the transfer cases these trucks are using. These are the trucks that have the transfer cases where they can change gear ratios. They thought it would help them on the track. It did help their time, but they broke. Plenty of action in Louisville, Kentucky. We'll be right back.
In Louisville, Kentucky. But first, we're going to look at the bye run of Dennis Anderson and the Gravedigger. He got her fixed, Army.
Well, he got her fixed, and that qualifying was so very important to him because the bye run, he's going to make sure that it's right now. So he doesn't have to worry about going out there and breaking or beating anybody. What he's going to do is make sure that this truck is right for the next round of eliminations, and he's not taking it easy. He's not stroking it at all. Anderson comes out. Didn't really attack the vehicle. That's a smart move. You know, first place money's not paid till the last race of the day. This is the first one. So Anderson's learning something. The truck looks good. I don't believe the distance of this track is going to hurt Anderson. We were worried about the heat factor, but he and the crew said they've got it figured out. Might just be the case. They're looking awfully good right now. One I'm interested in is the next race coming out. Anderson wraps up his. but the next race could be a war, Scott.
That whole bye run just to see how he can get around the turns and get up to shoot. Crusher, he and David Morrison, equalizer, are now in the semifinals. Our next quarterfinal matchup, Gravedigger. Dennis Anderson against the Barbarian Ford and Jim Miller. Gravedigger is obviously the odds-on favorite in this matchup.
Well, he's also the odds-on crowd favorite. It's amazing. The people are so involved with that truck. When it comes out, everybody stands and cheers. But right now, it's head-to-head. You can see why they like him. Look at that. Immediately jumps out working the inside of the track. And the Barbarian is laying down a good run, but the Gravedigger is just dominating this particular round of elimination, Scott.
Dennis Anderson, Gravedigger, Chesapeake, Virginia, as the rain is now coming down in Louisville, but he is still hitting them hard, and the rain is going to slick this track up for these guys.
It's getting awfully slick out there, but look, the Gravedigger is still throttles up. The Barbarian's after him. You're looking at the best monster truck racing in the world. A little bit of push from the Barbarian. Boy, the people are getting their money's worth now. It's starting to really rain in Louisville, and the Gravedigger with those awesome red lights, he's alive.
They can see right through the dark clouds in the rain with those red light flares. Boy, Jim Miller and the Barbarian got a wild ride up in the number 3 turn as the track got slick, almost took him to the wall. Gravedigger comes away, though, with the victory, puts Barbarian away, and so Gravedigger has made it to the Final Four, to the semifinals of the TNT Monster Truck Challenge in Louisville, and Barbarian's going to take her out.
Who's he going to be facing in the final? The Gravedigger Chevrolet or the Jersey Outlaw Ford? Everybody's got something to cheer for right now, Scott.
Gravedigger, the first time out defending the new silver flag here on Tough Tracks. Jersey Outlaw would love to put that piece of silver right on the back of that Ford.
Boy, and Dennis Anderson is playing hardball. Look at that.
Coming to turn 1 and 2 just explodes, Army.
Working the track. I'm standing here and this kid's coming past us. You wouldn't believe the ground speed they have. Look at this attack. Smooth landing. He'll back on the throttle now. Working around to the left. Dennis Anderson is doing a beautiful job of driving. If he keeps it up, he's going into the final. A little bit of smoke starting to come out of the back of the Gravedigger right now, Scott, but I don't believe it's going to cause a problem. He is going to the final.
And he's looking dominant getting there. Gravedigger, outstanding run, is just whipping the course in Louisville. So the national points leader, Gravedigger, will try to add to that because he's going to match up with a guy who's chasing him in the number 3 spot, Gary Porter and Carolina Crusher. It's those two in the finals. Army, it ought to be a great championship run.
Well, the final set on a beautiful Sunday afternoon in Louisville, Kentucky is going to be Virginia going against North Carolina. The Carolina Crusher, Gary Porter, had some transmission problem. He is busting his tail trying to get into this final. On the other side of the coin, the Gravedigger had an extremely smooth run. He also had some problems. Both crews working feverishly right now, trying to get to the starting line for the final. It's coming up next.
Dogs in the pit with Dennis Anderson trying to get ready for the final.
Dennis, are coming after you. Can you hang on the flag?
Yeah, man, we're going to hang in there. What about putting a little bit more fuel to the motor, because I think it was leaning out. I had a couple of sputters out of it, so we're going to keep it from leaning out, and I think I got it under my hat now.
Okay, now Gary's having problems with heat. Are you having any kind of heating problems with your vehicle?
No, my motor's fine.
So it is the Gravedigger and Dennis Anderson ready to go up against the Carolina Crusher and Gary Porter in the championship at Louisville Motor Speedway.
The march is set. The final race of the day in Louisville, Kentucky, and it's going to be a war, Scott.
And they're going crazy at Louisville Motor Speedway because this is the final they really wanted to see. The Gravedigger with the silver flag trying to hold on to it here on Tough Track as he matches up with the Carolina Crusher. Both of them come out of the chute well.
They come out just like drag cars. Everybody's upstairs on the RPM. Right now they don't look it, but believe me, it's a close race, side by side. When they get to the next turn, it's going to be the telltale sign. Anderson hits the jump quick, a little bit out of shape. Keep an eye on the Carolina Crusher. He's going to put a move on the inside.
But Gravedigger hits the wall. You can see something broke. The digger has smacked the wall, a steering problem. He could not get around the turn, and you're going to have to stick a fork in the Gravedigger. He's done for this weekend in Louisville. It'll be Gary Porter coming across the cars one more time. He hits the finish line, and the Carolina Crusher wins it in Louisville. Army, there's fire under the Gravedigger.
What happened, Scott? A hydraulic line broke on the steering assembly, getting on the engine. That's where the fire came from. No major problem.
That's it for Gravedigger. He'll finish second. The Carolina Crusher here on Tough Tracks at the Louisville Motor Speedway, the beautiful facility that Andy Vertrees built just a year ago. Always a thrill for TNT Motorsports to be here.
It's an awfully costly final run for you, but everybody, you knew they were coming after you. You had to go for it.
Yeah, I did. Well, when I come off those cars there, I was kind of bouncing around a lot. Coming to this turn, I lost my steering pump. It busted a hose on it or something, and went into the wall. I was going to back off the wall and try to run him down, but I didn't have any steering, so I had to give it up.
Had a little bit of a fire in the back. Was that from some of the fluid getting on the exhaust?
Right. Well, what it done is when I impacted the wall, it pushed fluid out the pump even harder then, and it shot it onto the hot motor, and it went into flames.
Look who's coming out right behind him.
The guy who up until last week was the national points leader, Dennis Anderson's Gravedigger out of Chesapeake, Virginia. And you know the Digger wants to come back strong here today in Lima. Here he goes on his run.
Now, Anderson runs a rear engine combination. The truck's going to be a little bit ill handling in qualifying. He knows it, but now back pedals, he's really a lot of problems right now. Anderson just backed out of the throttle and motors over the last set of cars.
Obviously a problem on the run. Looked like he didn't come off that second set, lined up to go to the third set. It cost him some time, Army. The Gravedigger's time is 15.23.
Well, believe me, Anderson's going to be back in the pits trying to get that figured out. The people here are kind of in awe right now because Anderson normally is an attack driver. You notice the first set of cars, he goes over, he looks relatively good right now, but he comes off a little bit crooked, goes to the left, he tries to correct it. Now remember, there's 3 sets of cars. He's approaching the second set of cars. He still looks fairly straight, but when it came to the final set of cars, the Gravedigger was not going to be able to lay down the shot that he wanted.
Let's get on to the eliminating, though. Side by side, Bennett Clark will bring out the Clydesdale from Powder Springs, Georgia, against that man right there. Gravedigger, Dennis Anderson, certainly one of the most popular trucks around right now. Clydesdale hopes to knock him off.
Bennett Clark and the Clydesdale will not be intimidated by the Gravedigger. Clydesdale working the far lane. The Gravedigger going way in the air on the right side of the track, having all kind of handling problems. Clydesdale trying to come back on him. Across the finish line is going to be the Clydesdale as Anderson was really working trying to stay upright.
Bennett Clark out of Powder Springs, Georgia gets the big win. Army, is this an upset over Gravedigger? He's tracked down a guy who's going to be real interested in this championship matchup. Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger will have a close eye on Equalizer and Carolina Crusher in the final.
We got kind of an interesting spectator here this evening. Dennis Anderson, we understand you've been up in the crowd selling T-shirts tonight. It's final time. Who do you think is going to win this thing?
I don't know. I think this is Gary's night here. I mean, he's working good on this course, and if Carolina Crusher wins, I sell more T-shirts.
Always a businessman. Final time.
We took a moment to talk with the very likable Dennis Anderson, who has become one of the biggest stars in the sport today and certainly drives one of the most popular trucks, the Gravedigger. We asked Dennis about what he's doing at the starting line before he gets going and before a race begins.
Well, when I pull up to the line, I'm thinking about that light. I got to cut a good light to get off. And another thing, when just before I stage up, I want to make sure that my transmission is all the way back in low gear.
So that's what he's doing right now as he gets ready to set up this qualifying attempt. Dennis Anderson trying to get a time that can nose out Equalizer and David Morris, currently the fast time. Here he goes, Army.
He's got a good one going over the second set of cars. Look at that quick qualifying time right here. Look at the final jump all the way over. Anderson flexing his muscle in Lima, Ohio. That could be quick qualifying time of the afternoon. Yeah, it is. Look at that, Scott.
12.26, Army, and even that's despite the fact that he seemed to get a lot of air under him on that last jump.
Yeah, but on the last jump, it's a crapshoot. You pull the trigger, you're going to go as quick and far as you can. Air will hurt you on the first 2 jumps. Last jump is not going to affect you as much.
The popular T-shirt design being shown in Lima. Look at the air underneath of him, but as you mentioned, Army, he just let it all hang out, and it puts him on top in the qualification runs today. Set up in the quarterfinals. Looking forward to this first matchup. Dennis Anderson's Gravedigger going up against the Buffalo Tremor. And once again, that's John Kwasniewski out of Lackawanna, New York, just outside Buffalo.
Johnny K, nearest the camera, GMC, brand new truck, all aluminum frame, picking on one of the top guns in the sport. They lead side by side. They've got a good run going. Gravedigger comes over to second set. Johnny K's a little bit out of shape, heading for one of the camera angles. Now we've got both of them in trouble. What the setup is, Buffalo Trimmer's going to cross the finish line first, but he is disqualified because he ran out of bounds. Almost got into one of our camera locations. Gravedigger backs up and goes across the finish line. Now the question is, how long did it take him to do it, Scott?
Because the rule right now in the TNT Monster Truck Challenge, and it's a very controversial rule, is that the fast loser will come back in a situation where a truck is disqualified. So while Gravedigger, in essence, gets a win here, it doesn't necessarily mean he'll be back. Buffalo Tremor crossed the finish line first, but is then disqualified. So this spot in the semifinals is going to go to the fastest loser. That's something to keep in mind because Gravedigger lost a lot of time having to back up and go over the cars again.
Well, here's one they really love to watch in action, the awesome Gravedigger, Dennis Anderson out of Chesapeake, Virginia.
Just about an hour and a half away from home, the Virginia native lines up on Virginia clay, heading down the pit road of Richmond International Raceway. He'll be working the left side of the track. The rear engine Gravedigger comes out a little bit out of shape. Now he's got to pull the trigger on the final jump. Good run for the Gravedigger. He's going to be a player before the night's over.
Not a thought about that pit wall. It's excellent. 7.36 for Gravedigger. And, you know, you've got to think about that pit wall, but if you do, then it's going to take a little something away from your performance. Obviously, Army Anderson looks only ahead.
Yeah, he drives to the front. He doesn't worry about left, right, or the rear, anything.
And there is a very, very narrow edge, narrow room for error, if you will, in this course.
You know, this monster truck can actually have a groove in it before the night's over. Speaking of groove, these guys are grooving head-to-head. Look at the kid out of Missouri. We see a major upset. Bob Breen put the Gravedigger on the trailer in the first round. What an upset, Scott.
To everybody else, including these two guys, who got the benefit of the doubt, coming back as fast losers, Gravedigger and Mad Dog. This should be a good one. Here we go.
John Breen with a far-lane left first, but look at the Gravedigger in front of his own home state folks. Boy, almost like he's possessed. He's not going to get put away twice tonight in front of his friends.
Oh, listen to the roar here in Richmond as the Gravedigger and Dennis Anderson will move to the Final Four. Army's going to catch up with Dennis right now.
Well, Dennis, you get back into this thing because of a technicality, but you're going just as hard as you should be here. Really, you shouldn't even be in the program, but you're advancing into the next round.
Yeah, we had a few problems from breakage, so I was brought back. I was sitting back in the pit, piddling along on my truck, had my driver's suit off. All of a sudden, they bust back in there and say, "Get your equipment on. We're ready to race." So I pulled it to the line, and I'm back in here.
How's the truck feel? Look good.
That feels good. I was a little late coming off on the line there. I wasn't paying real close attention to the lights, but now that I made it this round, the next round I'll be on my shoe.
You're from Virginia. We're in Virginia. Is this Virginia's night tonight?
I hope it is. Needs to be my night.
He's already got a break. We'll see if he gets any more. And I know he'll keep that driver's suit on, getting ready for the semifinals, because we're going to be having him come up a little bit later.
The last 3 years. But you talk about a guy that's had his share of problems right here. He's lucky to even be sitting in that truck right now. Dennis Anderson, but the situation at hand is Anderson sits on the starting line waiting for USA 1. USA 1 is having drivetrain problems. They've got the truck started to bring it into the lanes, but the rules say you have 5 minutes in which to make the call. Anderson went to the lanes. We're down to about 30 seconds. Can USA 1 make it? It looks like he's trying to get there, but the drama's starting to build in Richmond, and he is on the line, Scott.
So we're going to have a race. USA 1, the defending national champ, Rod Litzow, and the Gravedigger, Dennis Anderson, who was the early point leader on this season. Now these guys are sitting 3-4 in the point standing, so this is a very big head-to-head matchup. Not to mention the fact that the winner goes into the championship. Litzow's got the good shot.
Litzow comes up, keep an eye on the Gravedigger. Oh, I don't know. From my viewpoint, we're looking right down the throat of them. We couldn't tell. It looked like they were side by side on that final jump.
USA 1 got the win, but there's transmission fluid pouring out of it, so it looks like Gravedigger will go to the final.
Well, you talk about drama. He just ran over here and said he's losing his way to the final. That's not exactly the case, but when you go to the final, any way you can get there, it counts, and that's exactly where you are right now. What's going through your mind? Why Stork sits out there believing he can win this thing?
Yeah, he can, but, you know, I jumped in that right lane then. I felt like I got a pretty good pass out of it. USA 1 didn't blow me away too bad. And I'm working with a little bit smaller motor this weekend than I've been working with, but I think I can knock Dave out.
It's Nightlife and Gravedigger coming up for all the marbles in Richmond on Tough Track. Several times in previous weeks on Tough Track, equipment problems, mechanical problems have knocked out the Gravedigger. But tonight, it has been his ability to keep that truck together that has got him in the final against Dave Wychorek in Nightlife.
Gravedigger sits awesome on the starting line. Look at those beady red lights. The Gravedigger's in town. He's in front of his own home state folks. Would love to put a win together. It could be a Cinderella final. Look at the far side. Gravedigger, almost possessed, is going to take the win, Scott.
The only victory he gets on the night is the one that he needed, as he gets the win in the championship over Nightlife. The equipment holds together, and the Digger will take the silver flag right here in Richmond, Virginia, in front of the home state fans on Tough Track. Army's going to talk to your winner.
Well, Dennis Anderson, kind of like the finish, you came back from the grave on that one, literally, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. We've been sweating all night out here. I lost my way to the finals, really. We're back in the pits, piddling around on the truck, getting ready for tomorrow's event. They came and run us out of the pit, said, hey, you're back up on deck. And, you know, I stood a chance of getting to the finals, and I did it.
Well, Story gave you an awfully strong run, though, didn't he? That boy's tough.
Oh, yeah, he is. I mean, you'd never underestimate Dave. He may look lazy sometimes, but, buddy, he'll get you on the other end.
What about this national championship point chase? Now, you guys are getting ready to start on a big tour. You got a lot of cities in a row. Equipment, point chase, it's really getting dramatic in this monster truck competition, isn't it? You guys are definitely serious.
Yeah, we are. We're really serious in the whole motorsport of monster truck racing now, and it is going to be tough. You're talking about that little tour we have, and we'll be gone for like 4 weeks, and you have to carry a lot of spare parts for these things, and it's a lot of work, and there's a lot of late hours, too, pulled on.
So speaking of spare parts, I've got a part over here for you. It's the championship flag that you'll be able to take on the New York tour with you. Congratulations, Dennis Anderson. And I want to ask this young man with you right here. Excuse me, son, who's the best monster truck in the world?
Grave Digger.
The Grave Digger.
The winner of the Mad Dog Equalizer race, which was David Morris.
Hey, Richard, look who's coming out now. It's going to be the old pro against a home state boy. No problem for it against the Grave Digger.
And we call John Moore Jammin' John Moore now. You know why?
Yeah, those breeches he wears.
He wears the brightest breeches in the pit area you'd ever want to see.
All you young guys that ride the bicycles and the skateboard, John Moore is over 40 years old and wears jams just like you do. Thus the name Jammin' John Moore.
Plus, he jams that Ford no problem as they are staged and ready to race. Dennis Anderson, kind of the hometown hero here in Virginia.
Both trucks lead real good. Now the second set of cars are going to, hey, they're really going after it now. Richard, look at this. They're both in trouble.
Digger goes over the wall. People scatter in the pits, but John Moore, and no problem, has hit the wall. He has got busted tires. Here's the replay at the finish line. Unbelievable, Army.
Well, the Grave Digger, he takes a bad bounce on the left side of your screen, but look at Moore. He's trying to stay off the wall on the right side of the screen. Both drivers were literally fighting for their lives.
And Dennis Anderson cleared the wall. John Moore hit the wall. He has got damage on the no problem machine. Let's go down to Army, who's going to be talking to Dennis Anderson of Grave Digger.
Dennis Anderson, to say it was wild would be an understatement. You know, they put these pit walls up to keep people out of the pit area.
Yeah, they did. Walls aren't very tall for these big monsters, and I come off the end of the cars in a real weird bounce, and I was afraid that I was going to, if I crammed on the brakes to keep from getting over the wall, I might flip the truck over. I really don't know what happened. I kind of got shook up and shook around a little bit, so I just dove for the wall.
What goes through your mind when you're coming over this finish line and you're that close together? You got together actually in the middle of the track and then went away from each other.
Right, well, that's what it was. I think we kind of got scared. Both of us got together. I'd rather tie up with the wall in a way than tie up with somebody else's truck, because I feel like the wall is not that tall. I can get over the wall without tearing the truck up. But if I get into somebody else's truck, there's going to be some severe damage.
He's going to move to the next round.
And look who is coming out to face each other in this quarterfinals. It's a replay of the first round.
Yeah, but Richard, there's one big difference. Can you notice what it is?
No.
They've swapped sides of the track. Dennis Anderson doesn't want anything to do with that right lane. He jumped the wall. John Moore doesn't want anything to do with the left lane. He got into the wall. I think they have made a gentleman's agreement. Let's try it this way.
Here they go. Grave Digger and no problem. It looks all Digger.
Yeah, Grave Digger definitely doing his thing, and they both go straight as an arrow.
But let's stand up and give an applause to Jammin' John Moore, Lafayette, Tennessee. A good run coming back from having busted tires and other problems. He's out of it now, though. But we're back with the semifinals coming up next on Power Tracks.
The starting line set up is going to be the Grave Digger going against Awesome Kong. Do you have any preference who you want to go against in the final?
Well, neither really. But both of them is going to be running strong, and this is going to be a good race coming up.
All I can say is Grave Digger against Awesome Kong. That says it all.
Keep an eye on the red lights. The people from Virginia, they're going to be pulling for their men, the Grave Digger. Meanwhile, Texas is trying to put them away. It's a good start, Richard. Both trucks a little bit out of shape. It's up to the drivers now, and
it's Dennis Anderson and Grave Digger.
Oh, he's coming across. Oh, some heads-up driving, Richard Lee.
So Dennis Anderson and Grave Digger makes it to the final round as the Flying Texan Steve Kane finally gets grounded.
Dennis Anderson, I'm going to be short and sweet. Gary said he's going to thump you in the final. I asked him if he wanted to run any preference in the final. You're Awesome Kong. He said, I want to get a hold of the Grave Digger. I'm going to thump him right here in his own hometown.
Well, I can tell you what, he might thump me, but it ain't going to be no easy thump.
Army, I think you're an instigator. I didn't hear Porter say that.
No, when he walked away from me, away from the camera, he looked back and said, Gravedigger's who I want.
All right, well, that's coming up next. To name the best of the beast in Richmond, Gravedigger, 28-year-old Dennis Anderson against Carolina Crusher, 27-year-old Gary Porter.
Well, Richard, it's almost an ideal setup. Both of them powered by Chevrolet. One of them's 51-year model Chevrolet, that being the Gravedigger, engine in the rear. Going against him, front motor, Chevrolet, 89-year model Porter against the Gravedigger. Who's it going to be? It's side by side over the first jump. Here comes Porter. Whoa. Boy, Gary Porter really helped his cause in trying to win that national championship, Richard, with that win right there.
Well, with that win, we understand Gary Porter will leapfrog into first place now in the national championship point standing. And welcome back to Power Tracks, the nation's only television show devoted to the Monster Truck Championship Points Racing Series. And Army, already tonight in Buffalo, New York, major stories are breaking. The first is about Dennis Anderson.
Showed up one time, made one shot, and Richard, the replay comes on the screen. I want you to notice what happened. Completely clear. I have never seen a monster truck go over 12 cars at one time, and Dennis Anderson was glad to get out of that truck. It shook him up. We were standing at the end of the track, and he was hustling to get out. It really worried him.
Well, this is a replay from qualifying, which took place about an hour ago. Dennis Anderson with major damage to that truck, Army.
Yeah, he will not be able to make the call. All the damage was in the drivetrain. The engine held together, the transmission. Boy, everything else just went the way of the buffalo.
Well, there you can see a dejected Dennis Anderson coming up in just a moment. One guy that is not going to be in the championship tonight is one of the favorite drivers on the circuit, Gravedigger with Dennis Anderson. He broke down in qualifying tonight. It's been kind of an up and down 1989 for Dennis. Army's got him trackside.
Well, Dennis Anderson's Gravedigger is currently number 3 in the national points chase, but the last couple of weeks have not been the greatest to you. You weren't able to make last week's race. You had some problem getting into New York. This week you come out. You look super. You flew like an airplane. But, man, when it hit the ground, a lot of damage looks like it took place.
Yeah, well, Army, what we've done is we changed the motor. We put a little bit stronger motor in for the outdoor courses, and the motor felt super good. I didn't really expect to feel that power out of that small, that smaller motor, but anyway, it did, and it launched me over that last set of cars. And when I come down, I busted the transfer case and both of the drive shafts out of it. And all we got to do now is, the transmission's hanging in there. We got a strong motor, and that's all the motor I need. We just get the drive shaft to stay in it now, and then maybe we'll get us another good combination like we had in Chicago.
Area, but this is Andy Brass, the driver of Bigfoot, and he is ready to do war with Gravedigger. Dennis Anderson out of Chesapeake, Virginia. Dennis will not win the national championship this year. He's out of that points race, but he always puts on a wild and woolly show.
Well, Richard, I've always said this guy's got somebody in his family that was a kamikaze pilot. Believe me, you're going to see why. If he's going to lay down a run, it will be a good run. I've never seen Anderson make an easy run. For bragging rights, Bigfoot, the Gravedigger. The Gravedigger, probably one of the most popular trucks on the tour right now. And everywhere he goes, people want to watch him fly, and they're not disappointed tonight in Weedsport. Look at this. Anderson pulls the trigger and literally explodes the engine on the run.
Dennis Anderson, the Gravedigger, as we see the replay, high flying over the first set of junk cars, smoking out of the rear of that Gravedigger, but at the finish line, it's the win over the Bigfoot. But Army, I understand that there could be problems once again on the Gravedigger machine. I know you're down there as they're backing him up. It looks like pieces of the Gravedigger, yes, being picked up by the crew chief there, Dale Benson.
Well, that's a tough break. A good run, but like we say, Roddy, that's just the way he runs. He will not go easy. When he comes off the starting line, you're going to see a run.
And let's go trackside. Army's got both our drivers from this race.
You took the win, Dennis Anderson, but it cost you a whole lot.
Yeah, it did. We still got a rear drive shaft problem. That's what I've done. I just threw the back drive shaft out of it.
Can you get back? Do you have another drive shaft in the pit area that you can get back in this competition?
Yeah, I have a spare drive shaft, but I busted the yoke on the pinion shaft, so we can't fix it in time to come back.
Coming up next, Army, here's the story we were talking about. Bigfoot and Andy Brass gets a rematch against the Gravedigger and Dennis Anderson, but wait a minute, Gravedigger was broken down.
Yeah, he broke in a previous round, but he's going to come back. The only reason, do not look for a hard run here, and I'll tell you why. He only has front-wheel drive. All he's trying to do right now is get points.
And all he's trying to do is keep that truck together. Recently in Watertown, New York, Dennis Anderson tore the Gravedigger all to pieces. And Army, you talked to Dennis about that earlier this afternoon.
Well, right now we're standing with the tired, dirty, worn out, long way from home, Dennis Anderson. Dennis, you and the Gravedigger, the last time we saw you, it was spectacular. About 60 feet in the air, 80 mile an hour. Things looked great, and then you landed. What happened?
Well, really, Army, what I done is I landed in the shop. I busted a transfer case. I tore the whole drive line out. And what I done is I took off with this new motor, and I didn't think the motor was going to run that hard. It really surprised me. I got more air than I've ever gotten in a monster truck before, and it was, like you said, it was spectacular. I saw a video of it, a replay, and it was a wild ride. It didn't seem that wild when I was inside, but after I saw it on film and saw parts flying, it was wild.
How did you get the truck back together? Because the incident happened a couple of 100 miles away from here. You're on tour, a long way from home. You know, how did you pull it back together so quick?
Well, what I done is I dug in my little black phone book, called up all my buddies that I get parts from, and I had some parts flown in. I had a transfer case flown in. They got here like 10 o'clock at night, and we thrashed on the truck all night long. I had new drive shafts made, new safety loops and stuff like that, and we just thrashed on the truck, and we're here to do it again.
You know, Army, some of the guys on the circuit are nicknaming Dennis One-Run Dennis Anderson.
Yeah, but oh, what a run. You're going to see when a Gravedigger goes out.
Well, don't expect a competitive race, but Dennis Anderson is out there in the Gravedigger against Andy Brass and Bigfoot.
Brass is going to move on to the next round, but he's not cutting the Gravedigger any slack, is he, Richard Lee?
No, but I'll tell you something. As Andy Brass advances to the semifinals and finally, here comes the Gravedigger across the finish line. These trucks are still getting sideways at the finish line, Army.
Yeah, that's a spooky situation they've got there. Well, you know, Anderson, he's going to smile and say, well, at least the T-shirt sales will be up tonight after a run like that.
Now it's Gravedigger, driven by Dennis Anderson out of Chesapeake, Virginia. He'll be taking on Bill Weaver in Rambo. He's out of Hastings, New York.
Now, Bill Weaver Jr. usually drives this truck, but his dad's driving tonight, and he's doing a pretty good job right now to keep up with Anderson. But I tell you what, Anderson's one of the crowd favorites here tonight. He takes it nice and easy over that second set of cars because he knows he has the win.
Good win for Gravedigger, and indeed, Bill Weaver had trouble right there after the guardrail.
Yeah, of course, they're getting a little bit close to that, and they don't like getting too close. Now, Anderson had a lot of room over there. He gets a little crooked before he hits that second set, but he does a great job.
He hits it and gets a good win. Let's go down trackside with Mike Goss.
Dennis, you've had a long couple of weeks. You had a long day putting your truck back together, a lot of drivetrain problems. Is it holding up so far tonight?
Yeah, so far I really haven't put it to the wood yet, but what I'm trying to do is save the truck. I want to get into finals with it, but it's a pretty rough course. I'm going to draw USA 1 next. I got to run hard. I'm going to be in the left lane. The left lane is definitely a bad lane to be in, so I'm afraid that I'm going to bust a tire on this guardrail, so I got to take that chance. You know, I got to try to beat him or break the truck.
Along with Rich Hooser, and we are ready to get started with round 2 action. First will be Dennis Anderson in that unusual Gravedigger. He's out of Chesapeake, Virginia, somewhere 1940s Chevy, and he'll be taking on USA 1, another Chevy driven by Rod Litzow. He's out of Spring Lake Park, Minnesota.
Okay, Stan, this is going to be a race that a lot of people have been waiting to see. Here's two guys with a lot of horsepower and a lot of guts, and that's what it takes to run in this track. And I tell you what, here, Gravedigger's had a little bit of smoke coming out the back. It gets a little crooked after that first set of cars, and Litzow's going to win this one.
Well, so far it has been that far side lane, Rich.
It sure hurt Anderson right here. They're both pretty close right here after the first set of cars. But watch what happens to Anderson. As soon as he bounces off there, his rear end swings around to the left-hand side a little bit, causing him to let off the gas.
You see Dave Wyzorek pulling up Nightlife.
Another guy here, Dave Wyzorek. Now, he's been doing pretty good lately, but look, he's going up against Gravedigger, and this is going to be a tough race right here.
Dennis Anderson has got those red lights on.
He's one of the crowd favorites, and watch him. Keep your eyes close on him because he runs fast. He'll get away from you. He's got an excellent run, Stan. Oh, just a clear in the last set of cars. Oh, a tremendous run.
Well, Dennis Anderson had problems just trying to straighten up after he won that one.
Yeah, you get that horsepower going, and you get going that fast, 50 miles an hour at the finish line, it can be a little tough to keep it straight.
Good win for him. Let's go down to Mike.
Dennis, you cleared all these cars here at the end, but it looks like you hurt your truck. What happened?
Yeah, I rung a front yoke off the drive shaft, off the transfer case, and come down pretty hard. I really sailed the truck. Smacked my head pretty good, too. It jarred me around a little bit there, but it was a rough run.
And that is Equalizer, driven by Dave Morris. He's got a very fast truck. He's out of Springfield, Tennessee, and he'll be taking on Dennis Anderson in that awesome truck called Gravedigger.
And, of course, let's remind you guys once again here, Gravedigger's only running in two-wheel drive, so he's going to have to take it real easy. Coming off that starting line, if you don't have four-wheel drive, it's going to hurt you right off the bat. And there's the green. Of course, Equalizer gets a little bit of jump on Anderson since he didn't have four-wheel drive. And he's just going to blow him away here because Anderson, he's not even going to be able to finish the run.
Unbelievable win for Equalizer, flying all the way over those cars.
And he didn't have to run it very hard, but this guy likes to run it hard, and he wants to know that track because he's going to come up and try to get in the final.
Already controversy and surprises here in Nashville. Let's see what this race will hold. It's Gravedigger, Dennis Anderson, Chesapeake, Virginia, against that truck. The Ford Bronco, no problem. John Moore here in his home state. Moore is from Lafayette, Tennessee.
Believe me, he's running in front of a crowd that wants to see an upset right here. And John Moore, earlier in the year during an interview, said, if I don't do anything else, I'm going to beat the Gravedigger 1989. Let's see if he can do it. Moore starts to make his move on the far side. Gravedigger trying to hold him off. The final jump. Look at this. Look at this guy.
He's done it. In front of the home state fans, John Moore has upset the awesome Gravedigger. What a big moment in his racing career this is for John Moore, and no problem, fair and square. Both trucks at 100%, and Moore beat him.
What happened? He just stayed smooth and level out of the left lane. Gravedigger's beating and banging, and Moore just comes back, makes a good straight run at the last jump, airs it out, and goes over the finish line first.
The bounces cost Gravedigger. The consistency of John Moore on that run gives him the victory. I love this next matchup in the quarterfinals. The Equalizer, David Morris, the hometown guy, against the Gravedigger, the very popular truck from Chesapeake, Virginia. Digger comes back as a fast loser.
You got to remember one thing. 1 year ago tonight, David Morris had never driven a monster truck. He was sitting in a grandstand at this event. Now he's a national point leader. And another thing, you are not going to see a straight run here. Both these guys are going to have their hands full, and all they're trying to do is get lined up for the final jump. The Gravedigger went over first, but I believe we might have grounds for disqualification. I don't know if he hit the car square or not, Scott.
Army's going to get over there and talk to Dennis Anderson right now. You can see the tire cut down on the Gravedigger. Let's take a look at the run. Here comes Digger to the second set of cars, and look right there. He does not get both wheels up. He is not going to make it. It's a disqualification on the Gravedigger. Let's go over to Army and Dennis right now.
Well, Dennis Anderson rolls to the starting line with the awesome red lights. That makes the competitors watch out. There's only one thing that'll hammer you in this sport. That's what I'm holding in my hand right now. It's a drive shaft loop. Indication you lost the front drive shaft, plus the rear tire blew out on the run, Dennis. Can you make it back?
Yeah, we can make it back, but I think I lost that round anyway because I didn't hit that hit the middle pile of cars true, and I guess I was out. Still trying to be easy coming off the line, and it just didn't work for me.
You heard it from Dennis Anderson. He tried to be easy, but it wasn't good enough. Got one today.
Well, this kid came out of the woodwork and put Wysork away. I guarantee you Wysork is back in the pits kicking himself.
Another guy kicking himself has been Dennis Anderson, who last week was upset by no problem and has been having to listen to John Moore gloat about it ever since.
Oh, yeah, he loved it. You know, I got a pretty bad bounce when I was racing him, and I stepped on the motor kind of hard at the end, but he finally pulled it off, and he got me, and he ribbed me for a little while for it. But if we line up tonight, there's no breaks for John Moore.
We'll see if they're going to match up as the Gravedigger is putting those big red headlights on, no problem. There's Nancy Morris, the wife of David Morris, who we talked quite a bit with last week. She's getting ready to watch the Gravedigger in action because he faces off with her husband, David Morris, in the Equalizer.
Well, Nancy's showing us how intense this sport is. You come to win. It's not for grins and giggles. They're going for the national championship. Husband doing the driving on the far side. You know the story. This time last year, they were sitting in the grandstands on their first date. Now, she's married to the gentleman and sitting in the red truck on the far side. He goes up against one of the baddest of the band, the Gravedigger, and the Gravedigger leads. Equalizer, some kind of problem, Scott.
Equalizer has not left the starting line. Dennis Anderson's Gravedigger is going to get an easy win here. Dennis will cross the finish line. He did touch all the cars properly, and the victory goes to Dennis Anderson. As you get a look at an anguished Nancy Morris, David now, he's rolling backwards. He still has not tried to run the course.
I don't know. Now, it's going to be to his advantage to go ahead and to make a run. The reason being, they can bring a loser back in the next round. If there's any way possible, if he just has to drive over, he's going to do it. That means points, and points is what this game is all about. I'm sorry for his wife. That's a tough break right there.
So Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger get a win without having to go all out.
Dennis, you have any idea what happened to him on that starting line?
I don't know. Maybe his transmission or something went away, but I noticed that he didn't come off the line when the light went green. So I kind of backed out of it just in case he got going. I didn't want him to run me down and pass me, so I just tried to keep a little steady pace going.
What's causing so much bounce out there with these trucks?
I don't know. It's these steep ramps, and then we got 3 piles of cars. We've normally been running with 2 sets of cars with enough straightaway to get straight.
All right, our next quarterfinal matchup will send the Grave Digger and Dennis Anderson up against Yosemite Sam and Chuck Four.
Dennis Anderson told us earlier, when you see me come to the line with both headlights on, that means I've got it on full tilt. Both lights are on, but the upset truck of the night looks like he might be doing another one, but no, Anderson comes back. What a finale. The Grave Digger takes the win, but he did it in about the last 100 feet, Scott. He came from behind.
He found a little something extra, really got a boost. Here's the replay. They're coming at you, and clearly Yosemite Sam has the advantage until they head for that last set of cars, and then it looks like, nitrous something. He had a boost, and boom, Grave Digger pulled it out right at the end.
With both red lights glaring.
So give the win to Dennis Anderson. Grave Digger is moving into the semifinal round.
Dennis, this is your big chance to come back. You're coming back from disqualification last week. The truck's looking good, but King Crunch is who you're going to be sitting next to in this next round.
Yeah, he's going to be tough. He's been pulling out some straight runs. I can't hold my truck straight on this course to save my life, but I'm going to give him the battle of his life.
It's going to be narrowed some tonight. Here's a guy who is in the semifinals, Dennis Anderson's Grave Digger, and he's got a big challenge beside him, the fast qualifier and last week's winner, the guy carrying the silver flag, Scott Stevens, and King Crunch will battle the Digger. Army, this is going to be a dandy.
Scott, I think this is going to be one of the quickest races of the night. The question is, who can stay on the track? Both trucks make a lot of horsepower. They're both rear engines. As a matter of fact, Scott Stevens told me one of the reasons he built his truck the way he did was because of the Grave Digger, but he thinks his will handle a little bit better. Let's see what's going to happen. Stevens is out. Grave Digger coming on him. Oh, what a run down the left side.
Digger crossed the finish line first. However, again, it did not look like he got the cars, did not get the wheels up on the cars, and is going to be disqualified. Let's watch the replay again, Army, and there you see it.
Yeah, Scott, the word comes to us. We do have a disqualification out of that right lane. The Grave Digger will not be back. Stevens will go into the final.
Grave Digger, there you see it. Digger did beat him across the finish line. That's the timing tape, but that's not the question. Grave Digger is disqualified because both of his wheels did not hit the front part of the obstacle on that set of jumps. So, unfortunately, Dennis Anderson and Grave Digger DQ.
Oh, we got down to the Final Four in Nashville as the Grave Digger working the left side. A bonsai run, but that last set of cars, it looked like you weren't set up for it.
No, I wasn't, but, I knew that I was going to get put out this round, so I had to go for broke. I busted a back drive shaft in that round, but we'll get it patched back up, and we'll be back. We'll be after King Crunch.
How are the T-shirt sales going tonight after a super show like this?
I hope they're doing good. I need it.
Grave Digger has been one of the real tough luck stories of the year. As fast as any truck on the circuit, but he's been having problems. Last week, he beat USA 1, but broke it, couldn't go to the final. Here was his reaction to that.
Dennis Anderson, when this thing started tonight, you told us you were going after USA 1. You lined up next to him, and you got him. What's going through your mind right now?
Well, I was glad I could pull it off. I pulled to the line. I didn't have second gear, so I had to bump it from low to third and just stay after it, and I was going to nail him to the wall, and that's what I did. Done a little bit of damage to the truck, but who cares? I beat him.
Tell you, you guys look like a couple of kamikazes coming down there, each one trying to get to the other end the quickest. What goes through your mind at a time like that? That's almost scary.
Well, it is. It's blood and guts out here. We're for real. We're here to win the points champion. We got big purse to win, and we got reputations to live up to, and we're going to live up to them.
But look what happens this week to Grave Digger in qualifying at Kalamazoo, Michigan. Army Armstrong, he lines up. The red lights are on, but they won't stay on long.
What happened was the engine fuel fouled on him, and he just had all kinds of problems. A tough break. Because, Scott, I would say this has to be probably the most popular monster truck in America right now. And you could feel the crowd. They were actually let down when Anderson couldn't make one of those awesome sky runs that he so normally makes.
Now to the story. One of the most feared monster trucks in America is sitting behind pit wall.
Well, he came out, Richard. He made one run, and you can see the wall. This is what happened. When he made the run, he came over the final jump. The replay comes up on the screen. Everybody's on their feet. They've heard about the Grave Digger. Now they're getting a chance to see him. First jump was smooth. Second jump. Now watch what happens at the end. Bam! Puts it out of the ballpark. Takes a weird bounce as he's driving, trying to bring it around. The truck slides into the wall.
And once again, it's one-run Anderson.
You have any idea what caused the accident?
Not really. I know when I got right down here by the wall, I was on the brakes, and it didn't seem like the brakes was locking up, so I crammed on them real hard, and I got in a real dusty spot, and the truck spun around, and I ended up hitting the wall and hitting the pole and messing the front of the truck up.
All the damage was done to the front suspension?
Yeah, it broke a tie rod in and a steering cylinder and mashed the sheet metal up on the front of it.
So USA 1 out of it. Wild Hair out of it. Gravedigger out of it. And we talked to Dennis Anderson about the tough luck he's had this year in Gravedigger.
Well, this year has been up and down. You know, we've had some good times and a lot of bad times. We've had a lot of breakages, you know, the new season, and it's been tough. You know, we've been working on the truck every single weekend. You know, we're trying to improve the truck and get it better, and I don't know, we just got some problems that we can't work out. We fix one thing and then the next thing breaks, you know, but I do throw down some real wild passes, you know, and the truck has always got an excuse for braking. And the way I drive it super hard, and that's the way I want the truck to run. So we've got to build the truck better so it will run hard all the time.
A full moon in Virginia, and that can mean only one thing. It's the Gravedigger. Appropriately, he's meeting Nightlife here in Fishersville. The number 4 and 5 trucks in the World Championship points race. Ready to go with the Digger. They run him everywhere, but nowhere more than in his home state of Virginia. And here's Nightlife, a guy all the way from Nebraska who'd love to kind of just throw it in the face of the Virginia fans and knock off the Digger.
Well, Scott, Wysorik has done that so many times this year. I believe Dave Wysorik, one of the strongest drivers on the circuit, definitely one of the most consistent. But Anderson's in front of his own home state people. I look for kamikaze shot out of the left lane. Gravedigger rolls on the throttle. Wysorik landing tough. It looks dead even. Wysorik maybe out. Anderson's got to come back. No! An upset. What an upset, Scott.
And it did not sound good. Something sounded funny with the Gravedigger. Just the curse continuing for Dennis Anderson and the Gravedigger.
Dennis Anderson, do you have any idea what happened on that run?
Yeah, I think I dropped a valve in the motor. During qualifying, I hit the shifter with my elbow, knocked it into neutral. The motor buzzed up super high, and I think we sucked a valve through it when I just ran then.
5 weeks to go. This has got to hurt. This is not the time to break anything, is it?
No, it's not. I've had some tough weeks here lately anyway, but we're going to tear it down tonight and thrash on it all night. Maybe we'll be back tomorrow.
Maybe the hardest working man in the sport. Let's listen to the run and listen to the engine problem.
Scott, if it's a drop valve, you should get a pop out of the engine.
Well, there you hear it right there, and that'll stick a fork in Gravedigger. He's done for the night.
Awesome Gravedigger. He's going to put those shoes on in a moment, and he hopes to mash the competition here at Fishersville, Virginia, the Augusta Expo land, where they'll see the superstars of monster truck racing.
Well, thanks, Scott. Standing with me right now is a young man that has to be one of the most popular trucks on the circuit, that being the Gravedigger of Dennis Anderson. But Dennis, last week in Fishersville was kind of a replay of the whole 1989 year. It just hasn't been your year, has it?
No, it really hadn't. You know, we had a lot of confidence. You know, the track was slick last week when we came out, and I was really afraid to really put it all into the truck, but I made a few passes. I busted a lifter and lost a valve. I broke. That was last week. This is this week. It's going to be different this week. You know, I'm here to win. I think the track's going to be good today, so I'm going to try to do it today.
Okay, let's talk about track and philosophy. First of all, the philosophy. Last week's gone. Nothing you can do about it. Whole new day. Everything is go right now. So you're looking good. You're 100%. You're ready to go after these guys.
Yeah, I am. You know, I like this style of track. You know, I've got a good runway in between the cars. I can really blast to the last second. You know, the last pile of cars. That way, the guy I'm racing against, I can hold back and maybe save the truck. And if I need it, I'll just squeeze the truck and go for it.
The track itself, a lot of hard clay, going to hold the horsepower. So this is exactly what you're looking for. And also, this is exactly what you need if you're going to turn your luck around, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I'm trying to hang on to that 4th place, you know, in the points. And I'd really like to advance to the 3rd because it's coming to the end. And we're really battling hard for it. It's been tough, but I'm going to do it tonight.
Okay, great run in qualifying for Gravedigger. Let's watch Dennis Anderson in action. And the question comes up when you see him run this strong. He can win, but can he stay together?
Boy, the weak link has been the drivetrain all year long. He looks like he's got the handle on it this afternoon, though.
We're going to find out if Gravedigger can hold together or will he be snake bitten. Dennis Anderson and the Gravedigger ready to go into action. His opponent, John Moore, and the No Problem Ford Bronco. These two really building up quite a rivalry in action here on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge that you see every week here on Tough Track. You know, the last time these two got together was in Kalamazoo, Michigan, about 4 weeks ago, and it was a dandy side-by-side showdown.
Both trucks left the starting line awfully good. Anderson nosed out in the right lane, but Moore kept the pressure on.
Delta victory went to Dennis Anderson's Gravedigger. Gravedigger and No Problem will now go side-by-side once again. No Problem owns a victory over Gravedigger this year, something that really kind of got under Dennis Anderson's skin. Let's see how it goes today in Fishersville.
Last week, Anderson had motor problems. They've solved that problem. Whoa, now he's got another kind of problem. John Moore's going to win. Look at this. Anderson missed the final jump completely.
Absolutely missed the entire second set of cars. Now, Dennis will back up because a fast loser will be able to come back, but it would take some real weird happenings for the time he's going to post to get him in the second round. What a shock in Fishersville, Virginia. Gravedigger completely missed the second set.
Look at this. All he has to do is just drive over him. Anderson backs up and nails it. He's got the people standing and cheering. He didn't have to do that.
Yeah, but one more shot for the hometown fans.
Dennis, you guys have been going after each other all year long. He's starting to even the score on you. This guy's for real, isn't he?
Yeah, he is for real. I got a bad bounce coming off the cars, missed the cars, so I had to give it up and back up and, straighten my run out. But
Why did you do that? A lot of people are going to ask us why. You were beat. You knew you were beat. But why did you go back and finish that run?
I do it for the crowd. They're here to see me launch that truck and drive it hard. And I knew I was going to be out and have to park it, so I'm going to give them something for the show.
Plus, it doesn't hurt the T-shirt sales at all, does it?
No, it doesn't. It helps out a lot.
Hi again, everyone. I'm Scott Douglas. Welcome to Tough Tracks. Today, the TNT Monster Truck Challenge takes you to Flint, Michigan, Auto City Speedway, for the superstars of monster truck racing in competition, including the awesome Gravedigger. You see him behind me, getting ready for action today. The Gravedigger's had an up-and-down year. When he's been on top of his game, he's been tough to beat, but some breakage has cost him in the national point standings. And speaking of the devil, here's Dennis Anderson, ready to go into action tonight.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a few words. I know I've had a lot of breakage. It's been a rough season, but I'm fed up with it. I'm tired of it. We've got the truck 100%, I feel like, tonight. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to kick some butt. These guys are going to know that I'm here, and I'm going to win for the fans. I'm fed up with it now.
There you hear it. One of the most popular guys in monster truck racing, Dennis Anderson. He says Gravedigger's ready. This is one they paid to come see. The Gravedigger against the Jersey Outlaw Ford. Mike Wine becoming very popular with the Ford camp, but there's no doubt the king of this sport right now is Dennis Anderson and the Gravedigger in terms of popularity. He now wants to back that up with race victories.
Anderson comes to the starting line. Both red lights clear. Look at this. The Chevrolet comes down the right lane. Anderson! What a run, the Gravedigger.
He said he was fed up with braking, and he's looking good tonight. A good qualifying run. And there, Dennis Anderson puts away the Jersey Outlaw. And the Gravedigger still has not broke tonight.
Right now, we're kind of a unique situation. Dennis Anderson, it's the second round you won. You didn't break anything.
I know it. That's what I'm trying to do, is hang in here tonight. I'm coming off the line kind of easy because that's what you got to do on this track. We're launching real hard off the line. If you launch, you get too much air and you're going to break something. So I'm going to try to hang in there.
You feel confident you can win this thing? It's been a long time since you've been in a winner's circle.
Yeah, it has. I feel like this is going to be my night. I hope it is anyway. I need a win.
You're the third driver to say that. Are you the one that's right?
I'm the one that's right.
There you see the silver flag, last week's winner, and he's got a smile ear to ear about last week's run. The Buffalo Tremor and John Kwasniewski. But now he takes on the true favorite in this sport. Everywhere you go, they talk about the Gravedigger. They talk about the red lights, about Dennis Anderson. Yeah, he's a little cocky. Yeah, he's a little arrogant. Yeah, he goes all out all the time. And I think that's what a lot of people love about him. And that's why Johnny Cage wants to whip him right here.
You said Johnny Cage got a smile on his face. The Gravedigger's got a grin all over his face. Look at this. Anderson comes out, boom.
All out attack mode, but that's the only thing we've ever seen from him. As Dennis Anderson says, no two in a row, Buffalo Tremor. He'll go on the trailer, and we'll see the Gravedigger coming back against Carolina Crusher in our semifinal.
Sounds like we got a little bit of a problem. A sputter sound comes out of the Gravedigger, Scott.
Let's hope that Dennis hasn't broken again, but as you mentioned, I'm sure this guy's going to be featured in some future Crunch of the Week segments. Dennis Anderson's Gravedigger. Army, he's still around, and he's meeting Carolina Crusher in the semifinals.
Yeah, I'm standing here with a big smile on my face. I'm happy for this kid to be still around at this late time of the event. Hey, this is new for him. Normally we call him the Kamikaze Kid. Has he changed his ways?
Well, really, we came back, you know, we had that big Rodak. It got outlawed, so we put a carbureted motor in it. Truck was working well. We weren't breaking anything, so it really wasn't enough power for me outside, I didn't feel like. We built an alcohol fuel-injected motor and put back in it. And I don't know, I think we just had a little bit too much motor. And my driving style, for one thing, I was bonsaiing the truck a lot and breaking it. So now I'm just, you know, I'm trying to make the truck survive. And I've got the attitude now that I really, these last few races, I really hadn't been trying to win when I get racing. I just want to make the truck, you know, make a few passes. I'm tired of working on it. I want to ride a while.
He's been riding well tonight, and I don't think he's really let off that much. Here he goes, Army.
Oh, they're going after each other like a street fight. They're going for the throw. Porter's in trouble. Anderson may be in trouble, too. Scott, this is kind of a unique situation. Porter, I know he's out of here. Disqualified, did not hit the second set of cars. The Gravedigger, the word we get, they're looking at replay. He may not be able to come back because one side of the truck or the other was not on the vehicles is the word we're getting. Let's check the replay. You call it.
All right, now the ruling is Porter's out. Forget the Carolina Crusher. He missed everything. Anderson must keep at least 2 wheels on those cars. The front 2 have to go up and start on it, and then he's got to keep 2 on. Carolina Crusher definitely out. You can see fluid leaking off. Gary Porter obviously just turned off and got away.
Thumbs up. We get the word. He will be back.
Gravedigger has won it. He did indeed make a legal pass, and Dennis Anderson, for the first time in a long time, is going to the championship round, and they love it here in Flint, Michigan. Army's going to go talk to both Dennis Anderson and Gary Porter after a crazy run.
Okay, we just received word. Dennis, come here. You are going to be the winner of that round. We understand he didn't hit the second set of cars, but you got a lot of decibel coming out of the right side of your engine.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's in the fire or, you know, I've lost something in the fuel system. We got to go back and check it out. I might not be able to come back and run.
Well, we'll let you get back to the pit area. Thanks for coming down.
All right, thanks.
Time for the Monster Smash.
88 was great, but 89 is mine.
It's showtime.
Side by side, Flint, Michigan, the final. Gravedigger against Equalizer.
Gravedigger in the second set. Equalizer pulls him. It looks like he got him in the air. They hit the second set together, but Gravedigger couldn't stay with him, and David Morris wins it in the Equalizer. Morris on top again.
Well, a lot of people thought he's going to roll over and play dead, and I did too. I'll be real honest with you, but you still went after that thing. Why?
Well, I'm trying to catch back up in the points for one thing, but, you know, I'm out here to turn the crowd on, and we've had a lot of problems with the truck. We started out tonight, it was running fine. We don't know, we just picked up a problem during the night. I don't know if it's fire fuel. We're going to work on it tonight and get it ready. So, you know, I lost all my power right there at the end of the track for the last 3 runs, and it almost cost me a race, the last one it did. So we're going to go back and get everything together. Maybe we can come back out and thump these guys.
I tell you what, Army, as I look at this once again, it's a good thing really that Equalizer beat him, because I think the fans in Flint would have gone crazy if this would have happened if Digger had crossed first. But he'd have been disqualified. Clearly, Gravedigger came off the cars completely, all 4 wheels off, and that's a disqualification. But again, that's really a moot point because Equalizer beat him straight up on the track, fair and square.
All right, let's get to some qualifying highlights. Jersey Outlaw side by side with the Gravedigger, getting ready for Flint competition, and the Digger laying down a run. The time for Gravedigger Dennis Anderson will be an outstanding 7.52 to set the pace. Opening up in the quarterfinals with the number 4 truck on the World Championship points ladder for 1989. Dennis Anderson's Gravedigger against the truck that's trying to track him down. Number 5 in the standings, Dave Wysorek and the Nightlight. Earlier, Army Armstrong asked Dennis Anderson to give us a high-tech explanation of what the problems have been with his Gravedigger.
It was basically the drivetrain. You know, we had our suspension travel. We started getting a lot of travel out of it. I've got real long pumpkins in the hog's head, and the drive shaft angle wasn't quite right, so we straightened it out. That cured one problem, but the rear ends, you know, with that long pumpkin on it, it'll knock a U-joint out of it, and when it knocks a U-joint out and you're whirling on that motor, it'll tear a transfer case up, swinging the shaft off. So we're going to go back and change something in the drive line of it.
Yeah, I would have guessed it was a definite pumpkin in a hog's head situation myself, too.
What is a pumpkin in a hog's head?
Okay, it's a third member in an axle housing. That's what he was trying to tell us.
Boy, he does have a way with words, doesn't he?
Well, that's the way these guys talk to drive monster trucks. Speaking of driving monster trucks, looky here. The Gravedigger running a whole lot stronger than anybody expected him to.
But Dave Weissdorf comes back in the second set. They cross almost together, but give the victory by the slimmest of margins to Dave Weissdorf and the Nightlife. Let's look at the videotape.
Well, the finish line camera shows you just how close it was. What, 6 inches?
That's all. The victory to Dave Weissdorf and Nightlife. I'll bet he's surprised at how well Gravedigger ran on just 7 cylinders. But Nightlife won it anyway.
The driver would love nothing more than the upset. Speaking of upset, Gary Wiggins comes out first, and he has upset on his mind.
That's exactly right. He wants to get a hold of that Chevrolet over there in lane number 1, the Gravedigger. Dennis Anderson out of Chesapeake, Virginia. Dennis already sitting ready to go in lane number 1 for first round competition as we get ready to let Gary get back and get ready to go.
During the qualifying session earlier this evening, Anderson flexed his muscle and showed us he could run with anybody. He drew the Bream boys in a qualifying session, looked awfully good. He did not break, but keep that in mind. That could pay dividends later on. Now we come back to the current time, and we get ready to go first round racing in the Omni.
You better be, Armstrong. We're glad to see that the Gravedigger held together and everything seems to be okay. As we see Wiggins, a little bit of liquid coming out of the rear end of the Mopar Magic machine right there.
Okay, the radiator is located in the bed of the truck. I'm sure he's not aware of it. It doesn't look like a major problem. As a matter of fact, it stopped. Maybe it was just a little bit of overflow. Mopar Magic for the Dodge Camp going against the crowd favorite. Gravedigger, look at this one, bigger.
And Wiggins, a surprise upset, Army Armstrong.
A major upset. It looked like we talked about making the first round for the Gravedigger. He actually did break in qualifying. It was only in two-wheel drive. Dennis Anderson upset by Wiggins.
So Anderson, obviously disappointed. Let's go down to Army with an interview with Dennis Anderson at this time.
Dennis Anderson, it looked like front-wheel drive only to me.
Yeah, it was. We busted a axle shaft in qualifying, and I didn't know it until we come back in to line up. And, and it just doesn't do much in front-wheel drive, spin out on a dirt hill.
When you came in a building, you were starting, stopping. That give you some indication you were having problems?
Yeah, well, that's what I was doing. I was watching the front wheels and touched the throttle a little bit, and the front wheels would spin, and the rear wheels didn't spin, so I knew I had a problem right then.
And here we come now with Bennett Clark and the Georgia-based machine known as Clydesdale number 2.
Butch is not on the Georgia-based machine. His sponsors in the audience this evening, his engine builder, and he would love to put out a good run, but look who he draws in this round. Probably one of the most popular trucks on the tour, Dennis Anderson, Gravedigger. Oh, look at this, Butch!
Anderson with problems once again. I believe it's that axle again, Army.
Front-wheel drive only puts the Gravedigger on the trailer. I won't call it an upset. Bennett Clark takes the big win in front of the hometown folks.
There he is, red lights blazing. The awesome Gravedigger. Gravedigger putting on a show throughout the year in 1989 on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge against King Crunch in a qualifying run. A lot of bounce all over the track, but Gravedigger able to outduel King Crunch in that qualifying run. Of course, he'd have to make it stand up later. But in the time trial, Digger laid down an outstanding shot with King Crunch right beside him. We're going to take a look one more time at the awesome Gravedigger laying down his shot with King Crunch along of it. When we come back, we'll be taking a look at first round highlights. Monster truck action from the Omni here on ESPN. Buffalo Tremor and the Gravedigger ready to go to war, and Dennis Anderson's brother puts a little Gravedigger hex, putting some dirt on, planning on being Buffalo Tremor. Did he do it? Watch right here. Dennis Anderson's Gravedigger lays down a shot and gets it done in the Omni. So the equalizer was next.
I'm going to dig him a grave. I'm going to put him away this round.
The paint job cannot be done, obviously. What does that take to get that job complete?
Well, it takes my son and I 7 days to do a truck from the time it's black until the time we're ready to clear it. That's about 14 hours a day, and about half that time is spent nothing but tape work. You have to tape everything up before you start, then you start untaping as you paint.
Dennis, you said you didn't like the colors. Why not?
Well, I didn't think that green on a black truck was going to work. And I told Fred that, But he just told me to, you know, to back out, let me take care of it. The job's mine. Just leave me alone until it's done. That's what I did, and it turned out great.
So, Fred, what did you have to do to get Dennis to see things your way in regards to this paint job?
First off, I had to do a sketch for him. Then I had to show him colors. And then we argued about it. And then I did my final thing I do with all customers. I said, take a hike for about 7 days, leave the truck with me, and come back. If you don't like it, I'll redo it. If you do like it, it goes on the road. And that's what happened. It ended up on the road.
Earlier, we showed you how the paint scheme was developed on the Gravedigger. Now Dennis Anderson tells us how the creation of the Gravedigger monster truck came about.
Well, I started out mud bog, and it's been 1982. I built the first Gravedigger. It was a 51 Ford pickup truck. Small tires on it. They were big compared to everybody else's then. But anyway, I started out mud bogging, and I was dominating in the mud and kept winning, and everybody was out. As far as my competitor guys that built mud bog rigs, they were out to get the Gravedigger. Well, I made the name up one night. It was real late in the shop. We'd finished the truck up, and we're going to the mud bog the next day, and I said, man, I need to put me a name on the side of this truck. And I've been picking on my buddy there for that week, and I told him that he had a real nice, shiny street truck, and I told him I'd take this old truck and dig him a grave with it, you know. And so I sat there and thought about that, and I said, well, I'll call it Gravedigger. So I got up and took some masking tape, taped off Gravedigger on the side of it, took me a spray can of paint, sprayed over the tape, put me a big black spot on the side of it. I peeled the tape off. The Gravedigger showed up on the side of it. So I went to the mud bog, and the name really got hooked in good with the people because I won the first mud bog I went to. Come back the next month, and I won again. So really people, the announcer really loved the name, you know, and so it hung in there with me, you know, and then I kept on just making the truck a little bit better because I had guys that was competing against me. They'd get a little bit closer to me, so I'd just do something a little bit better than they did, go with a little big, you know, a little bigger tire, and I just kept advancing in tire sizes, so I finally had a monster truck because I was crushing cars with a mud bog rig too. And I was the first one in our area to crush cars at a mud bog because the guy wanted to do something special that weekend. It was a Gravedigger birthday party. They called it a Monster Bog Bash. And I crushed a set of cars down in Creeds in Pungo, Virginia.
And they're throwing the fists in the air because the Gravedigger's on the track. Qualifying run side by side with the Mad Dog. You've seen this story before, folks. It is a different city, a new event, but you're going to see Gravedigger break in qualifying.
John Green pairs up with the Gravedigger. Green's got a whole lot of horsepower, but Gravedigger breaking on impact. God, it's amazing. I would imagine that truck has broken at least 80% of the events we've had this year, and it's still, in my opinion, the #1 fan appeal monster truck in the sport.
It'll be a broken drive line on that wild run that knocks Gravedigger out of the competition this week on Tough Track. The fans are still there. They love him, but I'll tell you, the challenge for Dennis Anderson in 1990 is to find a way to keep his truck together, because when he does keep it together, he's been as good as anybody. He stayed in the top 5 in points despite the problems. If he can keep the truck together in 1990, he'll play for the national championship. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, he has become the hottest ticket in motorsports today. The Gravedigger and Dennis Anderson from Chesapeake, Virginia, and the man who draws him in the first round, big Jesse Berge, playing for keeps out of Wyoming, Michigan. Certainly this has been the year that Gravedigger has emerged as the fan favorite in this sport, Army.
Well, it's amazing, Scott. Everywhere you go, people talk about Dennis Anderson and the awesome Gravedigger. Now, Anderson comes into this thing in Louisville, Kentucky. He's had some wins this year, but he's had some problems. He told us earlier, he said, if you see both red lights come on, everything is 100%. I'm going for the win at Louisville, Kentucky. Now, who does he pull up next to? Jesse Berge in the Auto Value Auto Parts Chevrolet. Berge also wants to take a win, so this is going to be a toss-up.
Here they come. Gravedigger on the left of your screen.
Red lights are on.
And it's all Dennis Anderson. The win to Gravedigger as Anderson playing for keeps away. And you know they love Dennis and the Gravedigger in Louisville, Kentucky. Let's watch it again. Here he comes on the isolated camera.
Scott, you know, you talked about the people in Louisville loving this gentleman. Louisville is a unique community because they get to see the monster trucks run indoors and outdoors at the beautiful Louisville Motor Speedway.
Army, here comes Dennis over to you now.
Dennis, you may have saved the best for last. Last race of the year, the truck's looking awfully good for you.
Yeah, I hope it does. We've done a lot of work on it last night. I hope we can win. I just got to come over that dirt hill easy and nail it.
Everybody wants to win the last one of the year. Can you do it?
I think so.
No,
Yes or no?
Yes, I can.
Mike Wine, who faces the Grave Digger in the quarterfinals.
Well, the final race of the year is not going to cut slack for anybody. Standing with me right now, the lone hope for the Ford cans, Mike Wine. You say you're going to hammer all these Chevrolets on the final race with a Ford. I don't know if they're believing that or not.
Yeah, I waited all of them to beat their trucks last night. Gravedigger beat his first and tore it up, so I think he was afraid to run me in the first round last night.
Wait a minute here. Dennis Anderson with the Gravedigger. Go ahead.
Hold on a minute. No way. The Ford's not going to dominate tonight. It's going to be a Chevrolet, and it's going to be the Gravedigger.
Takes 10 Chevrolets to even touch one Ford. He'll have his chance. We'll be coming up next round. Instead of running his mouth, let him run his truck.
In the opening there, you see the fans loving the Gravedigger. Tombstones for all the other monster trucks. And there he is. But we talked about it earlier, going out on a roll. Well, Equalizer seems to be doing that, but here are two trucks that could spoil it all for him, and they're going to go head-to-head. Dennis Anderson's wildly popular Gravedigger against the fast-rushing Jersey Outlaw Ford, the Nick Roscione machine with Mike Wine behind the wheel.
Both drivers pull their gloves off and go after each other. No love lost. Wine, he says Ford's the best truck in America. The Gravedigger says not buying it. It's going to be Chevrolet all the way. Awesome red lights on the Gravedigger say he's 100%. Mike Wine sets in the Ford. Motor goes up on the RPM. Who's going to win it? Everybody's on their feet in Freedom Hall. The final run for one of them. Who's going on the trailer?
Here they go. Gravedigger coming right close to you. Look out, Dennis almost went over. Mike Wine got the win in the Gravedigger. I don't know how he didn't go over on his roof, Army.
Boy, you talk. On the replay, the top of the truck actually touches the cars. Now watch this. That's what kicks him back over. Full throttle right now. Look at the wheel spin. Bang!
That's 90 degrees. That's straight up and down. Oh, my.
That's what you see when you go to a TNT monster truck race right there.
You want to talk about a run that has left people speechless. I mean, they roared, but they're gasping at the same time. An incredible run for Dennis Anderson and the Gravedigger. I'll tell you, we have seen wild action all year long. There's Dennis out of the truck. He's going to go over now to talk with Army about one of the craziest and wildest rides of 1989 for Dennis Anderson and the Gravedigger. Wow.
Well, Dennis, you're notorious for the wild rides. The last ride at 89. What can you say?
I know it. Hey, I tell you what, I stood her up pretty good there. I knew that I was going to get a lot of air. I already said this lane over here was a home wrecker, and it stood me up pretty good. So I knew I was going to get a lot of hang time, but I wasn't worried about hang time then. I was worried about getting the wheels back on the ground.
That's what actually turns you on. That's what really pumps you, isn't it? When you take the wilder the ride, the better you like it.
Yeah, that's right. You know, I love to show off in front of the crowd. That's what the crowd wants, blood and guts. That's what they're going to get.
Mike Wine, though, in the Jersey Outlaw was going for the win, and he got it. Wine has now joined Army and Dennis Anderson.
Underneath. What do you do in a situation like that? Blood and guts is what he calls it. That's just about what it was out there, Mike.
Both of us have been after each other's blood and guts all year long. We gave it everything we got. I wasted the spare radiator I got, tore up a couple steering components, and I seen the whole undercarriage of his truck. Me and him are just out for each other. I'm not even sure who won yet, but that was a beautiful race.
It was you. You're coming back. Hang in there. You could win the last one of the year.
I'm trying. I'm going to give it everything I got for every Ford person that stood behind me all year long. Like I said before, I've lost a lot this year, but I've learned a lot to come back next year, and our truck's going to be number one.
Thanks, Army. So Mike Wine and the Jersey Outlaw knock off the Gravedigger in a wild quarterfinal race. When we come back, more quarterfinal action with Buffalo Trimmer trying to tame the wild hair and King Crunch plucking the feathers from the Thunder Chicken. Stay with us.